Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us again for another episode of whatever this is, my way or the highway, pretty much. I'm here in Chicago. I just did the Chicago convention. It was fantastic. Troy really put on a good show. Lots of people. We had an excellent booth. We were next to Jackie and some boys from my shop. Chris Smith came up, and Dot and Dana Brunson were there, as well as the Taylor Street guys. And Deb Cooper and her group were there, and I got tattooed by Deb again. And I actually tattooed her, and I tattooed her originally in 1987. So for me to tattoo her in 2025 was pretty fucking cool. And she's still as awesome as ever and still gorgeous. So, but today I'm here in my condo with a couple of guys that everybody wants to know more about. Yes.
Yes. I don't know who you're talking to, but
yes. No, this is Mario Desa and Julio Avila, and pretty interesting guys. And you guys didn't grow up together, but you were in the same town?
Same neighborhood.
Same neighborhood.
Blocks away.
In Milwaukee.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
The south side of Milwaukee.
But I think the thing is, when you're a kid, you know, maybe your world is maybe like a 3-block radius, and he always lived like just in the other side of that.
Okay.
And 2 different grade schools. He was in one district, I was in another, and they're both pretty big grade schools. Like I think Allen Field, where I went, was like 1,200 kids.
Wow.
And really, those 2 grade schools are only maybe less than a mile away from each other.
Wow.
It's a dense part of Milwaukee. It's like right in the middle of the inner city, so it's like just as dense as a Chicago neighborhood, really. There's like 50 or 60,000 people probably living in that neighborhood.
Wow, amazing. And is a pretty Spanish-speaking neighborhood? Was it mixed?
Well,
mostly.
In the beginning, I remember when it was an old Polish neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then I remember as a kid, there were still some Polish families around, Polish-American. And then by the time I was in high school, so 89, 90, it was like almost like 100% Mexican.
Well, that's awesome for you guys living around, you know.
I mean, there were a lot of, it was in my area, my block, it was mostly Mexican and then Puerto Rican too.
Okay.
But we still had some white families in the neighborhood too.
Yeah. White gangbangers.
White cholos.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in Miami, and we didn't have, it wasn't Mexican, it was mostly Cuban. But it was really, for me, really cool to grow up in a really mixed neighborhood.
Yeah.
And my first crushes were all on Cubans, and it was pretty cool. It was, it's nice to grow up in a multicultural area.
After grade school, the neighborhood, middle school, and high schools were like real fucked up. So my mom got us into, me and my brothers and sisters, into like schools outside the neighborhood, like across the city where we had to be bused.
Okay.
And that was the first time when I was 12 years old that I had any white or black friends.
Oh, wow.
That was the same thing with me.
Yeah.
Same concept, but his school was more north, and then mine was more southwest.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the same thing. It was the first time I was in class with a white person. You know, first time I was in class with a black person.
Thanks for not killing us.
Are you kidding? I was the only Latin kid in my school.
Really?
So thank you guys for not killing me.
So you went to the other neighborhood.
When I went to middle school, it was mostly white and black, and there was maybe 6 or 7 Latinos in there.
Wow.
But I've never thought along those lines. I've always thought of myself as an individual.
Yeah. Okay.
I still do. I really highly value individualism and like personal liberty and all that shit.
All right.
I don't mean that necessarily in a political way, but just in general in the way I think.
Right.
Like obviously I'm Mexican, I'm Latino, but like I don't know. I guess I've never really wanted to be. I never fell into like that heavy of a. I see people get caught up in those that kind of mentality where then you end up with a victim mentality, or you blame every little thing on, oh well, it's because I'm Mexican. Well, maybe it's because you're an asshole.
That happens a lot.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I've always heard if you meet 5 assholes a day, you're probably the asshole.
Yeah, right. You're the 6th one.
Well, those people that are like now, you know, it's like, oh well, I work in a private studio, so I just don't like the shop politics and dropping a PC. Oh, I get it. You're a problem. What happened is you went through 10 shops and you're a problem.
You can't fit in.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't adapt. Yeah. That's a lot of young tattooers. They don't adapt.
Some older ones too.
No, that's, no,
I think if you're old, you've earned it though.
Yeah. Well, that's a big difference. I don't know if we're jumping into the tattoo thing too fast, but I think that's a big difference too. I think is back, he started in '94, I started in '97. I know you started way before that, but it used to be that the people that kind of earned a private studio had 10 or 20 years of tattooing, and they had such a heavy clientele and were doing so much custom work that it didn't make sense to be in a street shop and drop a PC. So then it was almost like your reward for that. But now it's like kids are starting in a private setting and they're begging for work and they're freaking out and they can't, and it's just a whole flip. Everything's been flipped so much.
Well, and I think they don't learn the etiquette.
They don't learn the etiquette. There's no mentorship.
Right.
Yeah, they're cheating themselves out of such a huge part of tattooing, especially in the beginning years.
They don't know how to sell a tattoo.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the modern way to sell a tattoo is to have a drawing and put it on social media.
Yeah,
and have somebody
outline.
tattoo.
An outline of something. I'm always like, just color it in.
Yeah.
What is so hard about coloring shit in? Yeah.
I think that's a disservice because people don't know what you can do color-wise.
Yeah, and you see it in their faces.
I have done that before, and I have noticed that when I color stuff in, it gets less of a response.
Oh.
So, and I've also noticed if I show a drawing in pencil, just the outline, that gets less traction than if I do it with a black outline.
They love that black Sharpie outline.
I can see that too, because a lot of people think that if it's a pre-drawn design,
you have to get it that way. And
they might be like, well, it has purple in it, I don't like purple.
Or I want black and gray.
You can do it any way you want. Yeah.
People don't know that.
They can't imagine it.
Right.
Because when I do the conventions, I have my little line drawn. I did it the way I used to do, where I put my book out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized I'm not getting anybody because I had no line drawings out. So I made a bunch of line drawings, stuck them out there, and some sell, some don't,
They don't even care about a portfolio anymore.
No.
They don't want to see what your work is like.
No, they trust that that's what you do, that's on your table, And I take some other flash with me that maybe I want to do, and I'll throw it on the table, and I'll tell them, that's not my design.
Yeah.
You want my design, here's my designs over here. Right. You can have this, or this. It's mine. But those aren't mine. I'll tell them. Like, I didn't draw that shit. Yeah. I just bought it because I want to do it. Like that book of Mitch. Mitch gave us this book the other day. And man, it's got some killer designs in it. I can't wait to tattoo some of these. So you're going to see these on my social media.
You're a good salesperson. One of the best I've seen. So
I can sell to a fucking Eskimo. They don't even need us.
That's a lost skill.
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know how. My mom just taught me at a young age to get out there and sell my. I sold Girl Scout cookies. My first job, the first way I made money, I was in 6th grade in Miami. I noticed all these kids were eating these cinnamon toothpicks. I don't know if they're
I remember those. Yeah,
so they would come
had
in
mint and cinnamon.
Right. So they would come in a little wax piece of paper, and in Miami you'd get 10 for $0.25, and you'd chew them, and it'd go away in 5 minutes. And I was like, man, what a jip! So my mom made candy. She had cinnamon oil, and I saw in the store you could get a whole box of 500 toothpicks for 50 cents. And so I bought the toothpicks and swiped some of my mom's oil. I soaked them a long time, and they would last much longer. And I took them to school, and I'd sell them for cheaper. You'd get 15 for $0.25 instead of 5 or 10 or whatever. And so I remember making $5 or $6 that way and being stoked.
I was in
6th grade, in Miami, and that was in probably 1976 or 5 or something like that. I was young.
It's like $20 now.
Yeah. And I was making money. And that got me hooked. I was like, I can make my own money. I don't have to wait for my parents to give it. This is awesome.
I remember the moment when I realized that drawing was a hustle, like a skill I could use. Because I always liked to draw, and I remember I was usually the kid in the class that could draw the best, or was always drawing ninjas and Transformers and Voltron and all that stuff. Is the 80s.
Yeah.
But I remember this kid in my class in like 3rd grade he asked me if I would draw him something like Voltron or He-Man or something, and he would give me his Frogger watch. You know?
Oh.
And it was just the head. It didn't have the bands on it. We were all welfare kids, so who knows? He probably found it somewhere because it was kind of beat up. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. So I traded a drawing for a Frogger watch, and it clicked. I was like, okay, that's cool.
I can get anything.
Yeah, that's a big
because
come
I
up
just
too,
do this
man.
anyway
Yeah.
for fun, and it's like, oh, people like it, so I can trade it for stuff. Cool. Yeah, that was like the first. So I don't know if maybe because I've never been like a fine artist. I don't know if that clicked for me, the idea of like, oh, this is a hustle.
Yeah.
You know, which is one of the things that drew me to tattooing too. When I got into the like a tattoo shop and saw what it was like, I was like, oh, I like this. This is like a hustle. This is my way to get around having to go to college or work in an office or any of that shit I not want to do anyway, and I wouldn't have done. Because my master plan was to be a city bus driver.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
I was like, oh, I could do that. I'll just drive around the city on the bus. And I was still heavy into graffiti. I was like, I could pull over and like bomb the bus. And like, it's just like it's a city job or a county.
Yeah.
You get a pension, health insurance. I'm like, that sounds all right.
You're retired.
Yeah.
Imagine
Yeah.
you'd be driving around.
I was not that forward thinking at all.
I mean, that was at like age 20, 21.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
Not as a little
Yeah.
kid, because I was into graffiti, like heavy graffiti, but I was, by then you're usually aging out of it
Right.
a bit or, whatever.
You should be anyway.
You should be, yeah. Some people don't. Some
Moving
people
on.
come back later, but yeah.
Yeah.
I have friends who are 50 now that are out there like they're not like 16. But some people's midlife crisis is going back to graffiti.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which is entertaining to watch, and it's kind of cool, but it's like.
Well, you have more time now. Yeah, you can bail yourself out of jail if you get caught.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine not getting caught. You're not going to be 50 and running away from the cops. Then that cop is 25 years old.
That's true.
Yeah.
No way.
I just hope you get a fat
You
cop.
just sit down and like, all right, this is part of the game.
You just take it.
Yeah.
Just go to jail.
It is part of the game, but when you're young, you don't have shit to lose. So, if I had to go sit in jail for 3 days, I didn't really care. It's like I didn't have shit.
Were you arrested?
Oh, 15 times.
Really?
15 times. Arrested or held, yeah.
Misdemeanors? Is that a felony here?
It was all misdemeanors. I had a couple homies that got hit with felonies, but they also had one friend got sentenced to 4 years and did 2 years of it, felony vandalism or whatever. But he also had a record of like grand theft auto, burglary, like robbery. So they take all that shit into account. Yeah. I had a clean record. I never got arrested until I was already like 18, like just turned 18. So arrested or detained, taken to the station, just held for a bit, questioned or whatever. But so I'd go to jail here and there for a night or 3 days or a week, 2 weeks.
As an adult?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because as a juvie, you got to have your mom come get you out.
Yeah.
And that's worse than going to jail to me. Woo, I got arrested in Texas. Everyone I was with was an adult. They got to leave.
Yeah.
I had to wait for my mom. She would not buy me a bus ticket, and they would not let me out until she sent the bus ticket. They didn't want me wandering around.
Sure.
Right.
She made me suffer in there for like a week. She finally sent the ticket. But she wasn't happy about it.
Yeah.
You ever been arrested?
No.
For that? I mean,
Nothing.
Okay.
Got a couple speeding tickets when I was 19.
Good. You're a good guy. That's awesome.
So what, I'm a bad guy?
You're bad.
The worst.
The rebel.
I'm just free.
Yeah.
I'm freer than.
No, I like that. I like that. Both of you guys kind of have this aura of kind of doing your own thing, doing it kind of your way, but still honoring tradition. And you guys have made it your business to kind of master that stuff. How do you think?
Try to.
What do you think was different for you, Julio, and made you?
I mean, it was just
interested in
getting
that?
tattooed. I mean, it was illegal to tattoo in the city of Milwaukee, so we did not grow up with tattoos. You had a grandfather that
My
had
grandfather
a couple.
had a couple. I had a teacher that had
But
one.
in my entire family history, my next older brother was the first person with a tattoo.
And we didn't see tattoo shop. I didn't see
No.
a tattoo shop till I was 19 or 20, and that was that one in the suburbs.
The first
That was
time
that 1%
I was in a
shop.
shop was when I went in to get tattooed. And that's what did it for me.
You really didn't think about him before that?
No, even when my brother got his, I was like, oh, that's cool. And that was it.
I thought about it in the sense that I thought my grandpa's tattoos were super cool, and then also I got into skateboarding in middle school, so a lot of those guys were getting tattooed, and you see them in the magazines or in videos, and then I'd read Thrasher.
Yeah, or you see like the guys in Cro-Mags.
They'd have Thrasher would have fans in there, and
I remember seeing those dudes.
I remember thinking it looked so cool to be heavily tattooed, and thinking like, oh, I want to do that one day, like just deciding like, yeah, one day I'm gonna do that.
I did not think that. I didn't think that until I walked into the tattoo shop. When I walked into the tattoo shop, I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is where I want to be.
Well, you had that urge.
But, it was obsessed.
Isn't
It's
that
all I
true?
thought about. It was that same shop.
Oh.
You don't even know what it is, but you got the urge.
Yeah. I was like,
That's how I felt.
I know my tattoo's done, but I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You just want to get another one immediately.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get another one. I wanted to be the dude doing that.
Oh, you even knew that.
Oh yeah, right
That
away.
moment.
Because
That
that
took
was
me a
another
minute,
thing. It
but-
was, very naive thinking. Because the dude who tattooed me was young. I mean, he was
Okay.
my age too. I was
Okay.
18.
Do you know who that was?
Yeah, and you figure like if this dude can do it, I can do it too. and honestly, he was the apprentice at the time, so he was not that great back then.
And is he now? Is he around?
He's in Hawaii.
You're talking about Adam.
Yeah.
So
I have not seen him or spoken to him since.
Oh.
I haven't either. As far as I know, he moved out to Hawaii a long time.
I know he moved to
Late
Vegas,
90s.
tattooed Mike Tyson, and then moved to Hawaii.
But not the face. Yeah.
No, you do that.
What's funny is I went and got tattooed by that guy. Not my first tattoo, but I went and got a couple from him. He fixed my first tattoo and then did another one on me. And yeah, we were about the same age, and we had mutual friends, so I went to see him. And that was the first shop I walked into, and it was like 1%er shop.
Yeah.
What was the name? Do you remember?
Accents and Ink.
Oh, I love the name.
The shop is long gone, so I'm going to say
The whole
this.
building's gone.
Everyone called it Accidents and Ink. And it was like a movie. I remember in my memory, it was dark.
Yeah, it was.
And then it was like all like biker flash, so there's like swastikas and reapers.
I remember there being a motorcycle in the shop.
I was going to say.
Okay.
And at the time, you still smoked everywhere, so there's smoke in there. So unprofessional. This wouldn't happen on Maury and Oprah.
This wouldn't happen on Nick either. Nick wouldn't let this happen.
So,
Hi, Nick, if you're watching.
And I remember getting tattooed by a dude, and we were cool. We had some mutual friends, like I said. And I remember saying, like, I must have thought of it. Well, this is after I knew you, and you had gone to start tattooing. I remember telling him, like, yeah, I was kind of thinking about maybe trying to do this. And he goes, man, there's no money in this. You don't want to do this. And I was like, oh, okay. That's all right.
Yeah. I didn't know him outside of that shop, and in the shop was the only time I ever saw him. But
and then we went somehow fast forward a few weeks or a couple months later, and I with our mutual friends, I ended up at his house for just to stop. I don't think it was a party. We just stopped over there. And this motherfucker we pull up, he's got like a Harley, a hot rod, a pickup truck, a regular beater car. He owns a house.
Yeah.
He's my age. And we go in and he's got like a fish tank in the wall, video games. I'm like, this motherfucker's rich.
A millionaire.
He told me there's no money in this. But I love that he did that. And that's what you're supposed to say. Like, oh, you don't want to do this. Yeah, this is hard.
I have probably 4 or 5 people a month telling my nephew or my niece.
Now it's rampant.
Tell them to forget it. There ain't no money left in it. It takes 10 years to get good. Just tell them to airbrush t-shirts.
I don't know how they do it
stupid.
now. Kids that are starting, unless you're like an amazing kind of. I know a couple of young guys that are just like amazing right out the bat.
right,
They're busy.
yeah, I know some
But
people
other
like
than that,
too.
it's like it's got to be so hard because it used to be about the shop.
Right.
So it was the tattoo shop. The individual artist, you might have your own little clientele, but it's not like now where there's like these rock star tattooers. I mean, there was a couple back then, but just the tattooers. Customers didn't really know who they were.
Right.
And I don't. You could slide into a shop and make money because the shop was busy.
Become a part of that famous crew.
Right.
And if you said I worked there,
Right.
then
But there were
you could go
also,
anywhere.
so few tattoo shops. Even I'm thinking even just Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Even though Milwaukee was illegal, the rest of the state, there was probably under 15 shops.
Oh wow!
When I moved to Chicago in 2001, there was 5 shops in the city. And
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Can you even count them now?
I don't even try.
I'm sure you can get 5 shops in any 2-mile radius.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen just driving around. We're like, there's one. one.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, we're kind of lucky here. It's a different market than like Milwaukee or somewhere else because we get 50 million visitors a year. There's like 9 million people that live around here. So it's like, it's definitely different. There's a naval base just north of here.
But there's also history. Tattoo history never stopped.
It never,
Right,
the street
right.
shop culture never
Just
stopped.
kept developing and growing.
And grow,
Exactly.
and like, when your grandpa or uncle got tattooed or your dad, they went to the tattoo shop.
Right.
They walked in and picked a tattoo and got tattooed or had one drawn, and that's just how it's always been.
Yeah.
So that's why we're able to just like let's keep it going the way it was always done in most of America or most of the world. Because I think Milwaukee, I mean, it kind of had that lineage cut off when it
It was
when
30
it
years
outlawed.
of nothing.
And what is tattooing like in Milwaukee now?
I mean, there's shops everywhere. Of course, you can't go. Even small towns will have more than one tattoo shop.
Wow.
It's a lot of good tattooers now.
There
I mean,
are a
everywhere.
lot of good, and I think so. Once Milwaukee did become legal, it really killed tattooing.
Oh. Yeah, because everybody opened up.
Yeah, and then instead of having 4 tattoo shops within half hour of Milwaukee, now they're all over the place. So you don't have to go to those established shops anymore.
So it legalized on October 1st of '98, and I remember looking at the next phone book that came out.
Yeah.
There was 40 tattoo shops, and that opened right after that.
And what's the
40.
population there?
Well, now there's like 600,000.
Okay.
Golly.
But I think now the tattooers that probably have about 10 years in now, that generation is now reaping the benefits of having almost 20 years of being legal in Milwaukee.
Okay. Because it's building on them.
Yeah. The clientele, whatever the math is, the clientele has gotten better.
And what's your shop there?
What's it called?
Yeah.
It's called Cornerstone Tattoo.
Cornerstone.
Yeah.
And where is it at?
It is in Milwaukee. It's on Howell. We're closer to the airport. I don't live in that neighborhood. I live in the next neighborhood over. But the neighborhood I do live in, I don't know how many tattoo shops are there.
A lot.
A lot, which is why it's like, okay, I can't open in my own neighborhood. There's already too many. It's a couple of them have closed, but there is one street where on the corner, tattoo shop, across the street, tattoo shop, there's a house, and then the next building, tattoo shop.
Wow.
Yeah,
And then you go down two blocks, and there's another tattoo shop there.
Because you can't walk to another shop from here, or there's the one.
There's
a
one.
little further down.
Right,
Yeah.
but I don't know who's there.
Yeah.
I don't even
You
know
don't
what
hear
it's
anything
called.
about them. Yeah.
And that building, where that shop is, they are like the 4th or 5th tattoo shop there.
Oh, wow.
It was first occupied. You guys might even know. His name is Monk. He had a supply company
A1.
in Virginia.
I think I have some of his flash.
Yeah,
He was an A1 American
Yeah.
tattooing.
Apparently, he
I
was
know
known.
who that is.
Apparently, he was known for his yellow pigment.
Yeah.
Back-
All American
back in the
tattooing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was A1. So he's originally from Wisconsin and then moved to Virginia.
Okay.
And then moved back.
I totally have his flash on the wall in the
Yeah.
shop.
So he was the first person to occupy that shop.
Okay.
He had to leave town.
Is he still alive?
He went
What
back
happened?
when it legalized, right?
Yeah. He's still alive.
Not free.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Google.
I think Crow has some good stories about
Sure.
maybe
okay.
not him, but that shop,
Okay.
All American and A1 All American or whatever in Virginia. Crow got some good stories.
I'm sure he does.
Office.
I'm sure he does.
It's pretty funny. Yeah.
I mean, that guy Monk, he was what you would imagine like an 80s tattooer to be. I mean, he was a tough dude. Like if you got to know him, like I would go visit him. I moved to California, came back, and my sister used to live around the corner, so I'd stop in and say hi to him.
Yeah.
And he was always really cool to me, but I knew who he was. I know to people that weren't me, he was not this cool.
Well, you're lucky you were friendly with him. Then.
Well, I bought stuff from him, so I spoke in common language.
The first year I tattooed was in my apartment.
Okay.
Like a couple locations. At one point, I had a kind of a private, like a studio situation. Me and my brother for a few months, and then at my apartment or girlfriend's apartment or something. And so I worked off a pager. This was 97 to 98.
Okay, yeah.
So I had business cards with my pager number. It legalizes October 1st. Pager never went off again. Literally.
Really?
Yeah. And I was keeping what I thought was okay busy. Like I do 5 tattoos a week.
Okay. Yeah.
And, and before that I was a dishwasher, so it was great.
Yeah.
I thought
5 tattoos a week back then, you were set.
Yeah. And with like just me, I mean, I didn't really know I don't even remember what I would charge. It wasn't like shop prices, I guess. I didn't really, I might have asked your opinion, or I think I asked our buddy Dan Trocchio, like, what should I be charging? But I wasn't paying PC, you know what I mean? It was in the apartment, so it was like, yeah, it was awesome. And then once the shop's open, luckily I got into a shop immediately. He got me in a shop, and I started October 1st in a shop. But otherwise, yeah, that never again, my pager never, they didn't need me anymore.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, so the shop that I was working at before it became legal was in Menominee Falls, which is kind of like a northwestern suburb of Milwaukee. So that shop was getting clientele from the north side of Milwaukee, from Menominee Falls, and then all the other northern suburbs. And it was the same thing. Once it became legal, we said goodbye to all the Milwaukee clientele, which was like half the clientele.
Yeah.
But we never saw those people again.
So then that guy opened a shop in the city, which is where we
Everybody did. Like, so there was a day where it was like, okay, this is going to be day number 1. So before that, everybody kind of had their shops already set up so that when the legal day opened, all of those shops opened. Yeah.
Wow, that's something I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it was exciting though. It was because I wanted to be in a shop,
So,
and so it opened. It was going to legalize October 1st. So that whole summer, you're hearing about like this shop's going to open, and like people we knew were like building shops.
Yeah.
Like I'd go in and see the progress on that shop, and like my buddies who was working at a different shop, and it was kind of like something cool in the air at the time, where it was like, Milwaukee's going to have this like tattoo scene.
Right, we all thought that it's gonna, it's gonna open up for all of us.
Right. Yeah.
And it did not work.
A shop that won that's still there.
Yeah.
Would send coupons to your house, the weekly circulars.
Can you say the name of that one? Will you say the name?
No, because they're still open. I don't want to give them any business.
Okay.
They were the cheapest. They had coupons and flyers and ads and specials all the time. And so they won. They're still there. And then all those other shops around them closed, the one we worked at. And
So where we worked, around the corner was a tattoo shop. Kind of across the street, so if you like cut through the buildings, there was another tattoo shop. Yeah. 10-minute walking distance south, there were 2 tattoo shops.
God. It's not a real shop; a businessman owns it.
Oh, I see.
So all of those shops closed except for that one.
Okay.
Yeah. He's just a money guy. He's a real estate guy, business guy.
Just set it up
like
for
the
other
kind
people.
He just saw the money in it and opened. So
it seemed like a kind of situation where it didn't matter how much money was coming into the shop, as long as money was coming into the shop.
Okay.
So, I mean, I heard stories of guys doing tattoos. Let's say they were a couple $100. Normally you would charge that. Well, the person may have not had that money, so the owner would be like, well, you're going to do it for whatever is in that guy's pocket. And it may have been a lot less, but it didn't matter to him. It just...
And he had other passive income. So
He probably didn't get to keep very many good tattooers.
No, it was a revolving door.
Yeah, that'll kill your business in a minute.
But I mean, it's still open.
Oh, I guess it won't kill your business. No, I guess.
In a weird way, he won.
But here's
That's
the thing.
fucked up.
I think one of the things is because it was illegal in Milwaukee for so long. other than going to one of the shops in the suburbs, there was, I was tattooing in the house for a year, but there must have been other people tattooing underground where people got used to the idea that tattoos are cheap. So now you're in a shop and we're trying to be professional and be like, well, this is the minimum.
Right.
It's $100 an hour or whatever it was. And people would scoff. What are you talking about? I paid $30 for my last tattoo. It's this big, Or like, I think
Milwaukee was like that too, as a town.
It is.
Not just tattooing. It was everything.
It's the kind of place where like
it's very working class.
You don't flex how much money you have. You flex how much money you've saved on something.
Right.
That's a bigger flex to me.
You know what I mean? You brag about like something you got real cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is
I think that has changed a little bit, but Milwaukee has always been like if we compare Milwaukee to Chicago, they're very close to each other. Milwaukee's always been many years behind Chicago, and
also resentful a little bit. There's a resentment,
jealous,
like a chip on the shoulder a little bit. Some of it with sports having to do.
Well, it's the sports thing.
The sports is big.
It's baseball, like Cubs and Brewers,
and Bears and Packers.
I don't know if it's that much with Bears and Packers.
I'm
not a sports person.
Yeah.
But it's being two bigger cities close together, and not that Milwaukee is the size of Chicago. It's not. There really isn't much in common. And it's always been like that.
Kind of. Other than I would say the street cultures are the same.
Yes, but if you're talking about music and art and stuff like that, Milwaukee has never been like that.
Yeah, the economy's different. Like Milwaukee is more like a smaller New York than it is a bigger Milwaukee. Or I'm sorry, Chicago is more like a smaller New York than it is like a bigger Milwaukee.
Okay.
Right, yes,
makes sense.
yes.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It's a nicer, cleaner New York. People are so awesome.
I mean, there are parts of Chicago too that
I'm not going on the south side.
Well,
exactly.
Relatively, there's some pretty cool parts of the south side.
Okay, well I'll go with you guys.
Yeah. No, there's parts you can go to that are beautiful. But but that's funny because everything's relative. So we get a lot of tourists here from around the Midwest, and people from Iowa will be like, "Oh, it's kind of dirty here." I'm like, "Have you been to New York?"
Yeah, I think it's sparkling.
Yeah,
it's
and
awesome.
there might be some garbage that gets blown around, but like overall,
it's windy. There's gonna be
shit
shit blowing around.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's pretty clean here.
Yeah, it's just
compared to where I live.
It's just a different economy
for sure.
Mentality. The mentality. Again, now it's probably changed more, but when we were kids, it was like very different. Like as far as I don't know, I had personally. This is how I get to describe it. Sometimes to people is like, when there was one time years ago, I got a new car, not this car, or it wasn't. It was like a normal car, like a Honda. It was new to me. It was used, but it was new to me. It was new enough. Whatever. I got a new car. All my friends in Chicago were like, "Hey, good for you. Let's check it out. Awesome." My Milwaukee friends, how much you pay for that? Oh, you're stupid. Man, you pay too much.
And they weren't mad.
And they had no interest in seeing it, checking it out. No, that's the difference.
That's funny.
In the mentality.
And you're right. Yeah.
Because it is more working class.
Because here, Chicago is a good for you. Milwaukee must be nice. That's the difference. That's the difference. And it's a culture, I don't know what it goes back to. Somebody told me it might go back to a lot of the Scandinavian and German roots in Wisconsin. That's kind of like a very, I guess, Scandinavian attitude of like money and stuff. Yeah. But it is different. And I'm sure Milwaukee's kind of changed more.
It has. But it's not fair to compare Milwaukee to Chicago or Chicago to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Even though we're so close together.
Chicago, in many ways, is an island in the Midwest. Like, we're definitely have a lot of Midwestern sensibilities. Yeah. But it really is kind of more culturally and economically tied to New York.
Okay.
I think that's what a lot of people don't understand about Chicago.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said it. Yeah. And so, Julio, what made you leave Milwaukee? After all these shops opened, it was awesome.
That was it. I mean,
it was dead. We went 2 weeks once without doing a tattoo at that
Oh
shop.
My God.
And then there was Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Towards the end, there was maybe like 6 or 7 of us at the shop. The shop was huge. It was really cool.
In a good part of
Loved the
like
neighborhood.
busy part of the neighborhood. Yeah, it's a great neighborhood.
It just wasn't happening because that
bars around.
Because that people getting tattooed, it wasn't a thing yet.
We made the mistake naively of thinking we'll do cool tattoos, we'll do good work at a fair price, and people will want to come get tattooed. Nope. The cheapest shop won out. The cheaper they could get it, that's where
because of the city.
And maybe
I think
that's
because
a
of the
reflection.
mentality. I think it's a reflection of the mentality.
Yeah.
And I think it's and it's not unique to Milwaukee. There's people like that everywhere.
Yeah.
But it seems to be a big part of the culture, or at least back then it was. And also people were used to getting cheap tattoos. That was it. Like they didn't know that tattoos actually are a little more expensive than what they were used to. You know, even back then for adjusting accordingly. Because really, if you sorry.
Oh no.
But you know how people will be like, oh, tattoos back in the day, they're only $30.
Yeah.
Look up how much $30 was in 1973, and it was a couple $100.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
or if
they've
you
always
look
been
at
expensive.
what rent was,
Yeah.
And compare that to what the cost of a tattoo was.
They've always been expensive.
Well, Steve and I talk about all the time about, back in the day, we would make $100 an hour, $150 an hour. You kind of base it on that. You wouldn't actually come out and say, I want $150 an hour.
Yeah.
I would figure out how long it would take me and I would price it that way. And really, if you think about it, that's about what I make now, $150 to maybe $175 an hour, maybe $200. Where in my area in Virginia now, and in New Orleans and Florida where I tattooed before, the prices were a little lower. But they remain steady. We haven't really given ourselves a raise down there. We can't afford to.
Sure.
Cities like Philly, tattoos were always expensive there.
Yeah.
But they haven't really raised the prices a lot there that I know of. I mean, I haven't been there in a while, but maybe they have now. But
we've gone up accordingly, but also because the city has changed. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of gentrification. So all of a sudden, your customers aren't just bartenders and waitresses and whoever. Like, we tattoo surgeons and CEOs and bankers and software engineers. So it's like these are all white collar people. They're all making above 6 figures. So it's just a different.
In the 90s, they didn't tattoo.
Everything they do is expensive.
Right.
Is a little more. So, and it's only fair because we also live in this city and we live in this world where, like, yeah, you're paying $5 a gallon for gas. So am I, motherfucker. Like, you're trying to haggle with me. It's like I have a life too.
I gotta pay for shit too.
Yeah.
So leaving Milwaukee was probably pretty hard. What made you decide to go to California? Did you go straight to California?
I did, yeah.
How did you hook up with them out there?
Well, so I had my next older brother was living in San Francisco, so I'd already been out there a couple of times. And so I just kind of figured, well, maybe I can go out there. I knew I didn't want to work in San Francisco because of who was there.
Who was it?
I mean,
who?
Okay, the guys working at Tattoo City. 222 was open. Primal Urge was still open.
Okay.
So it's like that mecca, and I'm just some kid from Milwaukee. Like, where am I going to work? There's no room for me there. So I did have 3 shops in mind. First person I called, because I'm a moron. I was like, fuck it. If I'm going to move, I'm going to swing for the fences.
Yeah.
So I called Freddie. He had just opened up Temple. Okay. He'd been open maybe a year, 2 years or so. I was like, I've always loved his tattoos. He seems super cool. We'd gone to Oakland and going to Oakland, I was like, this looks like Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Like the north side of Milwaukee. I was
Oakland back then.
Yeah, back then. Right. So I was like, this seems familiar to me.
Right.
So if I got a job with Freddie, I think I'd like that. Yeah. Didn't happen. He was so nice. Like it was the nicest rejection a person could ever get. Like he kept me on the phone. Like it should have been a 2-minute phone call. Are you hiring? No. Thank you. Bye. That's what it should have been. Mm-hmm. But he kept me on the phone and talked to me. And I was like, you sound really cool. I wish I could offer you a job, but I can't. If I have to hire somebody, I have to hire some of my friends, I was like, I get it, So then I called Eric Hogan in Sacramento.
Okay.
Again, American Graffiti, all of those guys were all over the magazines. So
Scott was still, no.
he was still the part owner, but he wasn't really working up there much. So it was a place where I thought I could go and learn, because all of those killer tattooers were there. Yeah. And he did ask me to send a portfolio out, and he said, well, I'm not hiring right now, but I'll keep this portfolio, and if something happens, I'll give you a call. So I wasn't going to wait for him to call me. So there was another shop in San Jose, which we also had gone to. We rented a car and we went to Oakland and San Jose.
In '99, we took an epic trip to San Francisco. Awesome. It changed my life.
Yeah.
I think it was January of '99.
Okay. And so there was a shop in San Jose called Marks of Art, and there was a guy named Clem working there. And he had tattoos in magazines, and really solid, just beautiful tattoos. I figured if I can go there, I can work with Clem, and I'll learn from Clem.
And that was more like a street shop.
Yeah, street shop.
It wasn't one of these shops you heard about,
no,
outside of the area.
Outside of San Jose, really. I mean, now especially, it is a San Jose institution.
Okay.
It's still around. Unfortunately, the owner passed away, but it's still there. It's still being run by the guys.
Awesome.
So I figured I'll go to San Jose and Scotty is his name, Scotty Weeks. He did not say no. He said, well, maybe. And that's all I needed to hear. And I was like, all right, he's going to give me a shot. And I'm going to make it so there's no way he can say no. So.
Is he the one that asked for a photo of you too?
No, Eric Hogan. Eric Hogan was like, all right, I'll send a portfolio. I'll send my flash that I had a couple of sets. And he goes, while you're at it, why don't you send a photo of yourself so we can see who we're dealing with? And at the time, I was like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of photo? Does he want some glamour shots? Or
Didn't Scotty ask you for a list of your favorite CDs though?
He did not. No, he didn't.
I thought you
No, he did not. No. But
it was told me about somebody asking to see because they want to know what music you're bringing.
Oh,
that was
which is great.
Goldfield was talking to us about music.
Okay.
I thought you told me somebody sent a photo and a list of your.
Although that's a good idea too, though.
Yeah, let's see your playlist. What are you
exactly?
Into? Yeah.
So I went and did a guest spot. Taki was working at that shop back then, so he was always going to Japan. So I went and covered for him, and I loved it right away. I mean, it was busy. I had 0 clients. Nobody knew me. By the end of my 2 weeks, I had repeat clients.
Awesome. That's great.
So
that's what we were talking about. How it was back then. Yeah. You could slide into a shop and be busy, get some money.
Yeah. And so I didn't get hired. I was doing a guest spot, and even Scotty said, he was like, you can come out here and work, and you can see if you like us, and we'll see if we like you.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So I did a couple of guest spots, and towards the end of my second guest spot, Scotty comes over and he's like, hey, do you still want to move out here? I'm like, hell yeah, I want to move out here. I'm going to work with him. I'm going to work with Clem and Justin and Taki, and I'm going to learn all this new stuff.
And I'm making many tattoos.
Yeah, as many as I wanted.
So an hour from San Francisco?
An hour away, yeah.
That's amazing.
So I'm like, cool, I get to work with Clem, So Scotty's like, you still want to move out here? Yes, I do. Cool, because Clem just gave me his notice. He's gonna be moving over to Santa Cruz, so you can have his spot. So,
oh man.
Yeah.
Well, you guys made friends though, huh?
Oh yeah, of course. And you know what? Years later, I didn't say that to anybody. The reason I moved out here was because I wasn't gonna say that to anybody. But years later, I told Clem, the reason I picked this shop was because of you, and you took off. And then, so I took your spot. And I don't know if you've ever met Clem.
I don't know.
He is so cool. He's so awesome. He said to me, there is not a better person to take my spot over.
Oh, that's really nice.
Right?
That's a really nice thing to say.
So it's like,
Yeah.
it was a no-brainer moving to San
And you
Jose.
still got to become friends with them.
Of course.
Yeah.
We've still never worked together.
Did you guys
Maybe
get
someday.
together?
No.
Oh,
So I
man.
remember how much you loved this tattoo.
Yeah. And it just, I mean, we're still friends, We'll see each other every now and
I
then.
feel like he doesn't come east very much at all.
No.
Like a lot of California people.
No, he doesn't at all. He stays around the area.
And how long did you stay out there?
8 years.
Is that the only shop you worked at?
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And I still go back, and I still work at that shop.
Okay.
There was 2 times I guested in California, in the Bay, where I got to work at Blackheart in San Francisco.
Nice.
So that was another dream come true.
Yeah.
Like, who would have thought, some kid from Milwaukee is working in between Scott Sylvia and Jeff Rasher
That's amazing.
in Paul Doberman Station,
Yeah.
which used to be Tim Lehigh Station.
Right.
So, I mean, it was a huge ego boost,
Sure. That's
Yeah,
good.
So,
I finally got to work at Blackheart in 2023, and after becoming friends with Scott and getting to know him, and like so when we went in '99, we went to get tattooed by Scott at 222.
Yeah, we also went with our friend Brian.
Yeah.
So we booked Scott's whole day.
And I've been tattooing like a year and a half or something like that. So it was like, it was amazing. So then to come up like kind of full circle and work at Blackheart, and I tattooed at when they did the SFO convention by the airport.
Okay, yeah.
But I've never tattooed in San Francisco proper.
Okay,
And then to do it there was like super special.
It is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
It's the Mecca.
Yep,
Yeah.
for
It's
sure
the
is.
Mecca for
Yeah.
tattooing at that
Yeah.
time. I mean, I don't
And
know
to
if
be
it's still.
to be sitting
It
there
still
with
is.
Scott and like Rasher was there.
Yeah.
And it was cool.
I never tattooed there. I've been tattooed twice. I got my epic stomach and ribs done by Eddie there, and got a small tattoo from Scott there. Was that at Blackheart? Yeah, maybe. I can't. No, that was
222.
222.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 222.
I mean, that shop was
Yeah.
so cool.
It was awesome, wasn't it? What a great thing.
I'd never.
Like,
I'd only been in I don't know, 3 tattoo shops ever at that point for me.
Really?
But they were all set up like a standard
Yeah.
shop.
Right.
And then you walk in there, and it was like, I mean, there's flash on the walls, but it's like.
But it was all theirs.
It
It
was
was
all
all
their
original,
hand-painted.
their
That was
flash.
the first time I'd seen that, because everyone else just had tattoo brand
Right.
and Cherry Creek.
Creek.
But yeah, it had that feel of like it had their personalities
Yeah.
all over the place, and it was almost like, obviously it's a tattoo shop, but it kind of like felt like an antique shop, or you were in like a.
That place was just special.
It was cool. It was
like
so
there was
much
something that
personality.
you felt walking in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is not like a shop I've been in
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
That was an amazing
That
place.
was
Amazing.
that was a very impactful trip for me and for both of us. But to walk in there and go visit Tattoo City before they moved to where they just closed, when they were up the street on Columbus.
I saw that
We
shop.
got to go to that shop. We went to
Henry Goldfield's.
Henry Goldfield's. We went to Picture Machine. Primal Urge. Went to Erno's.
Yeah.
We would just hit. Must have got a phone book, I guess, at the time, and figured out how to get to all these shops.
It's that's a weird thing. Like, how did we get to all of those shops?
You ripped the page out of the phone book.
Yes.
Well,
We used to do
that is a page in my book, also.
Okay.
So.
we used to do that because every once in a while, if a customer didn't like your price, it'd be like, "Oh, you got a phone book," and then
That page ain't
we
in
give them
there.
the phone book, but the tattoo section was completely
Yeah.
gone, and they get so mad.
Oh, that would make me mad when they would call. Jackie had a a payphone, and they'd be like trying to call another shop in our lobby. I'm like, get the fuck out of
Yeah.
here!
We've had
You
people
know?
do that with cell
Like,
phones.
get out of here!
At least go in the parking lot.
Yeah,
Don't get
yeah.
in front of me.
You're not using my freaking
Yeah.
payphone to call someone else. Where are you going anyway? Jackie's, she at the time was the only game in town, so I don't know where the fuck you think you're going.
Yeah,
But
drive to another state.
yeah, you go out to the suburbs a little bit, but that was about it. And so you went to California. Where did you stay in Milwaukee very long?
Well, before that, when I got the job, I spent a couple of days in San Francisco, and I got tattooed by Jeff Rasher. I called Mario from the hotel and was like, "Look, dude, I'm moving out here. Like,
Yeah.
they gave me the job." And then he had news also.
Okay, and what happened to you?
I decided to move to Chicago.
Okay.
No, it was before that. It was Madison.
Oh, Madison. So I went to Madison, Wisconsin for a year before I came to Chicago. So 2000, summer 2000, I left Milwaukee to go work in Madison at a shop called Steve's Tattoo.
That was a happening place.
Steve Gold.
Yeah, that place was the shit back in the day. I knew a bunch of guys that worked there.
That was the shop. It was, and I got in there because a few of his guys had left to open their own place.
Oh, okay.
Down the street.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so I got the job, and I was stoked because I knew the shop. I knew the guys that had been tattooed there. And it was like the shop you heard about the most, I feel like.
And he was still
Wisconsin.
busy.
It was the classic. So I rented an apartment across the street from the shop. Classic, wake up on a Saturday, look out my window, 30 people waiting.
Oh, I love that.
We had to use the back door to not be hounded.
Yes.
And then as soon as they saw that we were in there, they'd be knocking.
Oh.
Opening the mail slot. Hey, when are you guys opening? You open yet? Like what? It was the best. I love that shit.
Great.
So I'd given Scotty a month or a month and a half. I said, give me a month and a half. I'm going to go home, figure everything out, and I'm going to drive out here. And Mario said, well, why don't you work at Steve's for a month and just make a bunch of money?
Yeah.
And that's enough money.
Yeah.
That was enough money to move me out there.
Oh, good.
And
So I worked 28 days straight.
Holy shit.
And I just, jammed and just made money and just.
And did you have a girlfriend or anything
No,
at the time?
no.
So you were
So it
on
was
your
I
own.
was like, I'm
going
out.
there?
Yeah.
I've been kind of seeing a girl, and then we broke up on good terms, but it was kind of because I was going to Madison, which is kind of silly because it's only an hour from Milwaukee.
I know, but when you're
That's
that
not
age,
silly.
and also Milwaukee and Madison are worlds apart.
Yeah,
and
Madison's
at that
a college
age,
town, more of a
Okay.
college town.
Yeah.
More progressive.
But
huh?
and also it's like I was focused. Like all I cared about was tattooing, getting better, traveling, wanting to do guest spots and stuff, and go to conventions, and even just to go to conventions, to not even to work, just to go and be there. And I mean, the first 10 years of my career, when I met my wife, I was 10 years in, and the first 10 years, like I would date girls here and there, but all I cared about was tattooing.
Well, and girls don't like that. If you're dating a girl and all you think about is tattooing and working, girls don't want
But
to
the
be
good
like
ones,
that.
the good ones understand.
some of them
The good ones see
find-
the big picture.
They do,
right,
but short
some
term.
of them think that, or they find it endearing, or they say,
In the
man, it's
beginning.
really cool that
In the beginning.
My
he's,
boyfriend's a
he's so
tattoo
passionate,
artist, which was rare back then.
But then they realize that, yeah, I love tattooing.
Remember, if you were in a bar or
Yeah.
a concert or something, you told someone you tattooed, they'd be like, "What? You're a Hey, everybody! This guy's a tattoo artist." Now it's like, "Oh yeah, my boyfriend tattoos a little bit, and my cousin's
niece,
apprenticing."
yeah, my niece wants to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was there, and kind of like with you and Clem. So one of my big reasons to move there was not only to make money and work and learn, but to work with our friend Dan Trocchio, who worked there, who I consider a mentor of mine. But like maybe 2 months after I moved there, 2 or 3 months, he decided he was sick of being there, and he moved to Sweden.
What? Oh
Well,
my
we
god.
had a friend living in Sweden already,
Okay,
and he
so he
actually
took
worked
off.
at Steve's.
Okay.
Yeah, Spike.
But
but I was
let's
like-
just talk about Dan Trocchio a little bit first,
Okay.
though. Like, he wasn't just a dude we knew. Dan was on something different.
Yes.
His tattooing didn't look like anybody in the city, in the state.
Oh,
He did that on me. That's from '98.
wow. Yeah,
You
that's
could
pretty
see-
cutting edge.
You
yeah.
could see the
Yeah.
influence he had on me.
Yeah.
So he was already in the 96, 97, 98. He was going to San Francisco. He had a
Mhm,
sleeve
yeah.
from Jeff Whitehead. Chris Kahn did his neck. He had another Chris Kahn tattoo.
He got
on
that
here.
Chris Kahn tattoo on his neck at the '97 convention.
I was there.
So was I.
So he introduced me to that, like the San Francisco thing, and I was able to see on him like those tattoos. Like,
Yeah, he was
This
ahead
is
of the
so
game
clean.
in so many
So-
ways.
Yeah, he's just a naturally gifted artist, good ass dude. Like became homies. He was also an ex graffiti guy, so we met at art school the same year the three of us went. With that 1 year, I met him there and just stayed in contact. And then he was the first person I knew that got an apprenticeship. Dan was the second.
Okay.
So anyway, he leaves to go to Sweden because he's not going to stay there just for me. I don't know. I'm not even sure.
Why not?
I'm not even sure I even said like, yeah, I'm moving there for you, dude. You know, but,
Yeah, it's a weird thing to say. I
Maybe
wasn't
you
gonna
guys
say
should
that to
tell
Clem.
them guys. Maybe everybody should just start telling people why you're moving.
now we can,
Right,
now
yeah.
men can tell each other they love each other and shit like that. But back then, that shit was gay, man.
It was.
So I stayed at that shop for a year. 6 months in, I did not like living in Madison, and I was kind of homesick for my friends back in Milwaukee and everything. So I moved back to Milwaukee. So the last 6 months, I just would drive every day.
Oh, wow.
Which was worth it because I was making like the most money I'd ever made. And then what also happened in 2000 is I got off probation. I'd been on probation in most of like the half of the 90s. So then I could finally actually move somewhere out of state.
Freely.
Yeah. And not have to worry about work. So then I was like, I'd always loved Chicago since I was a little kid. Like my dad took me there when I was like 8 years old, and I was like, holy shit, this is a city. Like this is like the L and everything. And I had just seen the Blues Brothers.
Oh,
So all that shit tied in.
That's
I was
right.
like, this is, and then going back for field trips or family trips or like coming down here for concerts a lot and stuff like that. I always felt more at home here and with the people around me that I met from here than I ever did in Milwaukee.
Well, it makes sense because it's more anonymous here. It's more,
It's more anonymous, but it was also at the time, it was also more normal to be Mexican here and be into weird shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at home they wanted Mexicans to be into Mexican
Like,
stuff.
Yeah.
Where's your fucking Aztec t-shirt?
Or
Texas?
you're doing white boy shit.
Yeah,
You listen to white boy music.
You're an Oreo.
You know? If you listen
and I
to
heard that from my
punk
family.
rock.
Really?
Yeah.
But
Wow.
here, there's always been a strong like Mexican goth scene, like
Right.
new wave scene, like Mexican punks.
I love that shit.
So coming down here was like, this is great. Like no one cares.
Right.
And same with like you'd see black skinheads, like black new wavers
Yeah.
and punks, and like skaters, skateboarding, like that, and then just being more anonymous. It was busier. I could see that people here were less focused on petty shit because they had more going on in their lives, and there was more potential to do something more. I don't know. It's just a different attitude.
That's a wonderful thing.
That was one of the things that I loved about the Bay. Also,
similar thing. Yeah,
it's like you think you were the weird kid in high school. Go to the Bay.
That's right.
By the end of the week, you will meet 20 people that are 10 times weirder than you ever were.
I found that very easily.
Right.
Yeah, I was very normal there.
Yeah,
and I kind of liked it for the first time in my life, not being the weirdo.
So I just decided, and I've been coming down here also. This is 2001. I've been coming down steadily. I would come down multiple times a year just to come shopping, go to a show, hang out, whatever, because I had friends down here. And I was getting tattooed. I got tattooed a couple of times at Deluxe Tattoo by Harlan Thompson, and I met Ben, who owns it, and Tim Biedron and Hannah, who worked there at the time and stuff. So I got to know them and got friendly with them. And if I was in town for anything, I would usually stop by and say hi to them. And I'd met Nick already in '99. I met him through a mutual friend of ours, Maya, who's a graffiti chick and who was friends with Nick. And she just thought we'd hit it off.
Well, where was he at that time?
Chicago Tattoo Company.
Okay.
Yeah, Chicago Tattoo Company. We met they used to do a convention out by O'Hare called the Ink and Lincoln. It was kind of like, it was kind of a biker, put on by like some bikers.
It was put on by a couple, and between the two of them, they had one tattoo this big. So they did a handful of Midwestern.
We might have been there together, actually.
Maybe. I know we did go to one of those.
Probably were there together because they asked us to leave because we were trying to sell flash.
Yeah, we bought stuff from Mike Malone. You know.
So Nick was in the booth with Mike.
Oh.
So in the booth with Mike, it was Rollo and Nick and Rollo's buddy, and Maya was hanging out with Nick, and she introduced us.
Okay.
And I still have the card I got from Nick, his business card, and on the back it has his pager number on it.
Oh.
I was talking to Mike Malone. I asked him if he had any Diesel stuff, and he was like, "No." And this was what, 99?
99, I think. I believe it was 99.
And he goes, you know what I do have is I have an old photo of Tats Thomas on State Street. He's got his pencil, the mustache thing. He goes, you know what? If you call the shop on Monday or Tuesday, I'll send you a copy. He never sent me the copy. I did, of course, call him. But he was reaching for a business card, And you know, he was kind of a bigger dude at that point, you know, and the business card was just out of reach. So I kind of did one of those on him, and he grabbed the business card and he wrote his name on the back of the business card as if I didn't know who I was talking to. You know? I was like, I know who you are, man. Like
you're kind of a presence.
You're one of the guys on Mount Rushmore tattooing, as far as I'm concerned. But I always thought it was funny, and I still have the card too.
That's awesome.
Which is funny. You're mentioning Maya. You know, living in the Bay, I was getting tattooed by Scott Sylvia, and we were just talking, and I mentioned Mario because I don't think he knew. He didn't put two and two together that the three dudes who booked his whole day was me, Brian, and Mario. You know, by then, you know, Mario had kind of a name in tattooing.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, yeah, it was me, Mario, and our friend Brian. And he was like, I didn't know that was you guys. I was like, yeah. And then Maya was the counter person at
because she lived in the Bay for a while. She's a Chicago person, but she lived in the Bay for a while.
She was like living in Oakland, I think. So Maya comes over and she goes, did you say you know Mario? I was like, yeah. And then, so I met Maya years later. And it was funny, there was still a Mario connection, but it was on the other side of the country.
Well, Mario, you were famous down in New Orleans. Like, we knew who you were too. I don't even know how. Maybe conventions.
Magazines.
It was magazines.
It was all magazines.
Yeah. Okay.
That was one of the things. Like, even working in Milwaukee on North Avenue, I sent stuff to a magazine one time, but I was already in San Jose. Whereas Mario, like, it was part of his thing.
That's
like,
right.
I don't know how often you did it, but it seemed like every 3 months you were sending out packages.
I made it a point.
And I should have done that.
It's the same way people try to figure out now their Instagram algorithm, or people that are good at Instagram. Mm-hmm. At the time, I just figured, well, I'm in Milwaukee. I want to do cool tattoos that I want to do. You know, I mean, I've always been a street shop guy and happy to work and do that. But, you know, you want to do stuff that you want to do. Nobody's getting cool shit in Milwaukee. Do you want to take a break and get some water?
Yeah. Keep talking now. Go ahead.
So I figured, to get the word out, I'll send photos to magazines. And if they get printed, then people who like that kind of work and maybe have been seeing it will realize, oh, there's a guy in Milwaukee, I can go there and get it done in Milwaukee by me.
Yeah.
And it worked to an extent. You know, it definitely worked more. Once I got to Chicago, definitely people were more receptive.
You know, I mean, I think it worked, period, for you. Maybe it didn't work right away.
It did.
But all of those little, you know, if you're in several magazines a year, you know, by the end of the couple of years, you're now a magazine staple.
Yeah.
And maybe people don't understand now what those tattoo magazines meant to us, but they were everywhere.
They were on social media.
I mean, there was no tattoo books.
That's right.
You know, except for a couple that Ed put out.
Every few years they come out.
Right. But I mean...
But the thing I noticed where it really helped, though, was when I traveled.
People already knew you.
I could go do a guest spot and get booked up because they knew me from the magazine or a convention. Mm-hmm. I would be busy and people would let me know. And
it was smaller then, so people recognized names more. I memorized every fucking name, you know, every photo. Yeah. I would just stare at those magazines.
Yeah.
And they'd be featuring this tattoo, but I would be looking at the tattoo in the background.
I did that stuff too.
You know, I was so interested. Well, what about this one over here? Or what about this person in the background that has this tattoo? Where did that come from? You know, but seeing your stuff, I sought out your flash. I was like, I want to tattoo this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, in New Orleans, people weren't really into that.
Yeah.
They were into kind of more fine line stuff still. Mm. And so when your stuff came out, I was buying it up.
Yeah.
I remember yours, and then the guys in Philly and Old City had great flash.
I did a flash training with Topper back then.
Wow.
I still have those sheets.
Wow, you should reissue that.
25 years ago or something.
People would be so interested.
Not a set together, we just traded sets.
I see.
Yeah.
Never mind.
But I still have that stuff.
Well, you guys should do a split sheet now or something, you know. But you were right front and center on my walls. Like, I probably had 5 sets
Yeah,
of
that's
yours,
cool.
you know.
Yeah.
And then I had traveling portfolio books for when I did
Yeah.
conventions, and I would have your stuff in there, and people would pick it out, and I was always so happy to
Yeah.
tattoo it, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember a big thing being when Jeff Zuck and I did a split
I
set.
had that set too. I loved
I
it.
still have people that are like, man, that set you did with Zuck.
It had something with a soldering gun, didn't it?
Oh, there was
Solder
one,
your
yeah.
life away.
I remember that.
Soldering
See,
gun.
I
That was
remember.
my design.
Yeah, I loved that. I was like, nobody ever wanted to get that.
I never did that one.
I wanted to do it so
Yeah,
bad. One
yeah.
girl almost got it.
Yeah.
She made needles, and
Mm.
she was like, "I'll get it," and then we never did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she would have got it too. Who was that? That was Egypt's mom and Chuck's wife, Yvette. That's who it was. Yvette. I used to work.
But
with.
also, I think a big part of any of that was also just actually going to conventions and meeting people in person and making those connections.
Yeah,
and like
for
it's
sure.
Still huge, you know. It's like not. I mean, obviously, it still goes on, but I think people rely now too much on, and part of it's because they grew up this way, but they rely too much on equating just the social media stuff. They think it's just as good as walking into the shop and introducing yourself, but they don't, because
They don't know life without
and I'm
before
not,
social media.
and I'm not
So
saying
it's
I'm not saying
yeah.
they're idiots or any of that. I'm just saying, get out, go. You know, I've numerous times I've gotten messages after a convention or after we had an event at the shop or something like that. I've got a message a day or two later. Hey, I saw you at so and so convention, but I didn't want to come up and say hi because of this. And it's like we've talked
yeah.
on DM for like
Say
3
hi.
years.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you come say hi? And I remember it happened last year with someone who's a tattooer whose stuff I really like, and I was looking for. I said, "Oh, I was looking forward to meeting you, man." Oh, really?
I didn't want to bother you,
Yeah,
man. I didn't want to
But you know
bother
what?
you.
I've been guilty of that before too.
And we all
But
we all
now
have
it's
those,
like,
we all have
yeah.
those feelings, but you got to get over
Yeah.
I'm gonna
for sure.
bother that motherfucker
Yeah.
I want to meet.
Now
I
I
don't care
will.
if they're
Yeah.
busy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go bump elbows.
Right, you don't have to take your
and
gloves
say
off.
hi.
I just want to say hi.
Yeah, and I want to see what you're working on. What
Yeah.
are you working on, man? Let me check that
But
out.
this last
you know?
weekend when we had Chad's show at Great Lakes,
Yes.
there was a handful of like younger dudes that came over, even if I was tattooing or something, and were like, "Hey, I just wanted to say hi," and I thought that was awesome.
That's
because
really nice.
it doesn't happen as much as like, you know, I mean, yeah, because I mean, we did it. We went into all those shops in San Francisco, and kind of that's what you do.
Yeah.
But you know, not enough people do that anymore. Young people, you need to get out and go to these tattoo shops and meet these elder tattooers.
Say hello,
You know,
buy something.
buy something, help support old tattooers. A lot of us can't tattoo as much as we used to. So, young tattooers, if you're making money, spread it around.
Why did Raul remember my name? Because I'd buy something from him every time I saw him.
Well, you know who else remembered your name? I just talked to Candy Everett.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was talking to her on the phone, and I told her I was here.
Yeah.
I said, I'm in Chicago. She said, tell Mario I said hi. I
Yeah,
just
she
adore
was.
Mario.
She's a
And,
character.
you know, and she mentioned you got a lot of good stuff from her.
Yeah.
And I hope you put it on display one day.
Yeah.
She,
Well, it's at the shop, some of it.
Okay.
I used to keep a certain style of goldfish, definitely not the 10 for $1 one. And I'd post them on Instagram, and I
I thought
ended
you
up.
meant the snack for a second.
Yeah, no, I don't.
They're delicious.
No, I don't mess with those actually. And I get a package from Hawaii, and I'm like, I don't know anybody in Hawaii. And it was from Candy. She sent me a bunch of stuff for an aquarium.
That's
Like,
awesome.
yeah, I was like,
That's
like
awesome.
wow, like what an awesome thing to get. You know, somebody that
Unsolicited, too.
yeah, somebody who you kind of have on a pedestal was
Yeah.
thinking about you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it makes you feel like $1 million.
It sure does. It does.
So, yeah,
she gave
she's
me
so
she
cool.
gave me a nickname.
Uh-oh.
She calls me Lulu. And she thinks I told her to call me Lulu. I was like, no, you just call me Lulu. You're the only one. She said, oh, I thought that was your name, Lulu LaRue. I said, no, but you could probably start it. And I'll answer to it, you know. But I thought that was kind of cool. She
Yeah,
gave me a nickname.
yeah.
I'm really proud of that. Thanks, Candy.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool that she just remembers my name and knows who I am.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. She's
Yeah.
called the shop a few times, and it's always like, just cool because, again, just starting out as just some kid in Milwaukee tattooing in his apartment, And then someone like that who like, the word legend gets thrown around too much, but she is actually a legend.
She really is.
It's just cool. It's awesome.
And
I didn't kiss ass. I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't fucking social climb my way up into anything. I just
being you.
You're just yourself, but you're awesome.
But I think that's a thing too, and not just with tattooers, but we can recognize that in other tattooers.
The authenticity.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people out there shouting real loud about how great of traditional American tattooer, and I'm this and I'm that. And are they really that? Or is that a facade? Like, you don't even know a lot of times.
Yes, a lot of social media is just a facade. So,
but authenticity goes a long way.
Yeah.
That's something I think that sets you guys both apart. You're real tattoo men that really love tattooing, not just because you make a living.
Yeah.
Everything about it. Like, I see how you look at things.
Yeah.
And you're just like drooling and and wanting to know more and wanting to go deeper than just what you see on the paper.
Yeah.
You want to know the story of it. You want to know where it came from.
Yeah.
How people got it.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of people don't care
All
about.
that ephemera and stuff is just like so special because how cool is it in tattooing? Like, say you're an Egyptologist or you're just a fan of Egyptologist, student of Egyptology. Mm-hmm. You can go over here to the Field Museum or the Art Institute, and you can look at the real stuff
with glass.
But I can hold a Sailor Jerry drawing. I can hold a Dietzel sheet, or we can actually hold like these machines. Mm-hmm. And I was tattooed. Last year and a half ago, like Nick tattooed me with one of Ralph Johnstone's or Tats Thomas's personal machines.
Wow!
And I almost had tears in my eyes. It was like a spiritual. I'm not a spiritual person. It was almost like a spiritual. I was just like, this is what it felt like to get tattooed by Tats. Like this, and it had the spark and everything. And I was like, for one, he was hurting motherfuckers.
Is that where you had a tear in your eye?
It must have had 1,000 grams of tension on the back spring.
Oh.
But it was just so fucking magical.
Yeah.
And what other kind of thing can you do that? Or
very few crafts.
Very few crafts or arts. It's just magical. It's just to think like, I don't know, that person, Amaditso held this. Yeah. And these are his lines he laid.
He worked with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, 100 years from now, that's one of the, for me, I want to preserve that. That's why I'll never paint flash on an iPad. It's 100 years from now, if everyone switched to iPad flash, what are we going to have in 100 years? Nothing. It's a stack of fucking dead iPads that you can't charge.
People are going to trade like thumb drives.
Yeah.
So,
how special is that?
I know. It's so disheartening.
Trading copy paper with print on it. It's printed, A painting has to be made with a brush and paint. Okay?
Not pixels.
Not pixels. Paint, not pixels. Yeah. I go round and round with people on the internet about this. I'm sure they think I'm a bitch.
I don't bother on the internet.
But
it's useless to
I'll
argue
tell
on the internet.
Oh no, I'm dumb. I'll argue on the internet all day. I deserve what I get. But I gotta tell, some people agree with me and some people don't, and that's fine. I'll be friends with people that don't agree with me.
Yeah.
Like, I won't hate you, but I'll argue with you a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'll also listen to your point of view, which is stupid, but then you'll have to listen to mine.
Well, that used to be the core of our society.
Well, it's hard to argue now. People get really upset, really mad, and they turn it political, and it gets ugly. And, I've lost friends over politics, people I used to adore, and they love me back. And because I
don't talk about any of that stuff.
Yeah, we don't agree, and they don't want to talk to you.
I mean, there's a difference between politics and morality.
Thank you. Thank you. No, it's true.
We can have difference in opinions in politics. Yeah. But difference in opinion on how we treat people, like.
Yeah.
That's very important. That's a really good point. But I hate losing friends over that kind of dumb shit, because in 4 years it's going to be different. And will you like me then?
Right.
I don't know. Who knows who's going to be in next?
Yeah, I'm friends with everybody. I don't. Unless you're a piece of shit human, then I'll, regardless of how you vote or whatever.
Yeah. I don't have time for that either. life's too short to waste with a bunch of idiots around you. You know, surround yourself with good people that you like. And Steve and I have started reaching out to people that we feel like are good people that we want to know more about and be friends with. And where we live, it is a small community. We don't have a lot in common with a lot of tattooers around there. So if we got to reach out, if we got to cross state lines and to meet like-minded people, we certainly will. And part of this video series I'm doing is to preserve this. I need to remember what we're saying, so I gotta have it on video because I'm gonna forget tomorrow. And everybody can look back at this.
I think it's important to preserve.
I do too.
Our history and the I don't even want to say the old ways. Just like true tattooing, like the way it really, there was nothing, it was already perfected. I'm not talking about the artistic part. The artistic part can always evolve, but technically and all that stuff and the way shops operate and everything, it was already perfect.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And so much of it now is all these outside people coming in and offering like, I'll show you how to market your tattoo shop, or I'll show you. I'm a tattoo tax consultant. I'm a tattoo, all that tattoo influencer shit and all those parasites, selling all these different, like this lotion and that lotion. And I tell my customers, like, don't buy any lotion that says tattoo on it. Just buy a plain unscented lotion from Walgreens. It's all you need. Don't fall for marketing. It's all marketing. And I'm not against people making a buck. I'm not against true innovation or any of that, but it's just like you see so much of it is just so parasitic.
I agree.
But I think it's important for us to tell our stories. Because if we don't, eventually somebody that has nothing to do with us or this will tell our stories. They will fuck it all up.
If no one involved in tattooing did their own podcast or video series or interviews or magazines or books, and then society crumbled, and 1,000 years, all that's left of record of our thing is Ink Master, then for the rest of history, that's what tattooing was.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's fucking sad. If that happened, that would be the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah, Ink Master is not indicative of what's really going on in the tattoo world.
So it's important for us to do this kind of stuff, for sure.
And, like you said earlier, like, how much I would give to be able to see this kind of conversation with Paul Rogers, or any of those people, that came before us.
One of the most magical points in that Sailor Jerry documentary was when you actually got to hear his voice.
Yeah.
From the radio show. It's like, holy shit. I rewound it and listened. I was like, holy shit. That's what his voice sounded like. That's crazy.
Yeah. And the people that can tell his story are not many around anymore, I mean.
There's under 20, maybe.
If that.
Yeah.
I mean, we there was a guy in Norfolk that used to come over to our shop, and he had a back piece. And he would show us the back piece. And of course, everybody's whipping out their phone to get a picture. He would not let us photograph his back piece. And I said, you really need to let us get a photo of that.
Yeah. Because
you're going to die. Nothing personal, but you're an old man.
And I definitely believe...
I want a picture.
I definitely believe that once that person pays you for the tattoo, it's their tattoo. Like it's their body. Yeah. But something like a Sailor Jerry back piece, that's bigger than just the person. That belongs... I mean, it really should be seen by a lot of people.
I think I snuck a picture.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck you, old man. He's dead now. Yeah. So I'm glad I got one.
Which one was it?
Which was that? Do you remember?
Was it the mermaid?
I've seen pictures of the mermaids.
Yeah. Well, that
guy lives in Minnesota.
Right. But I think he's passed away.
I'm having a total brain for it because I can't remember.
If you ever remember it and you find the photo, let me know.
I don't know, but every time I see Scott Sterling, Scott's got an Ed Hardy back piece.
Yeah. And
he's got a sleeve. Every time I see it, let me see that thing.
Yeah.
I got pictures of me staring at it like,
When I was in San Jose, I tattooed this woman, and it was her one and only time ever there in the shop, and she was there with an older guy. And he was like, oh yeah, my back is tattooed. I don't think maybe it didn't look like he had any other tattoos. I was like, oh, that's cool. He was like, yeah, Ed Hardy did it. It's like, fuck. All right, man. Okay. So yeah, he peeled his shirt off, but I did not ask for a photo. And I was like, I felt weird about it. Like, yeah, this is his tattoo. I'm not going to be that person.
Not me. I would get a photo of anything. I had girls stripping in my booth at the convention to see their tattoos.
Yeah.
Proud to show it. I'm not going to, make somebody do it.
Sure.
But if you're ready to show me, I am ready to see it and record it and put it out there because it needs to be, And this girl was proud of her tattoos. She had gorgeous tattoos.
Yeah.
I can't remember who did it. It was all black and gray, which to me, I grew up seeing a back piece. It was full color. It had to be finished with color when I was coming up. We didn't even think about black and gray tattoos.
Yeah.
That was for prison guys.
Right.
So it's strange to me that black and gray is so big now.
It's huge.
It's just kind of moved from the West Coast.
I've thought about that a lot. I think it has a lot to do, and I'm not knocking it. Like a lot of it looks awesome. I prefer traditional tattoos to be done in color. That's the whole thing, bright and bold, right?
That's right.
I think I think you can do a good black and gray traditional tattoo if you approach it right. Because I remember first trying to do it, they just looked unfinished. Yeah. It looked like you just didn't put the color in.
That's right.
Now I'm happy with how they turn out. But I think you saw the cultural shift when, do you remember the movie Snatch?
Yes.
And Brad Pitt had those kind of prison-y, kind of gypsy tattoos. Yeah. And then right after that, not too long after, those Russian prison tattoo books came out.
Oh, that's right.
And that was huge. And then they sold those books at Urban Outfitters. They were in Barnes & Noble. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, all the hipster kids, because their whole thing is about being authentic, except obviously they're not. Because to be authentic, you would have to go to a Russian prison to get those. But they started wanting that kind of stuff, and then they just started getting traditional American and black and gray. And I think they see it as a tougher look.
It is tough looking.
Yeah.
It really is. Those prison tattoos are tough. Yeah. Okay. No doubt.
I think that had a lot to do with it. Those books and that movie and a couple other movies that came out that kind of featured that look.
Oh, Cape Fear. I remember when that came out. People loved that guy's tattoos.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
those some scary looking tattoos.
Yeah. They were bad.
Yeah. And there was that movie Memento where he would tattoo the word.
The lettering.
He had the words, the lettering tattooed on.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember the when people started getting tattoos upside down, so to face them.
Oh man!
You know who popularized
I know who I think was popularized it. Yeah, that's who I said. She was on a talk show.
She was on a talk show and she had a word on her wrist. It might have been breathe, facing her, and she explained how it was for her.
Yeah, and the next week, that's how it was now.
Yeah.
Do you remember doing your first upside down one and how that
trying to argue with
like?
them?
I've never done it.
You never have?
Maybe
there was
with a design.
I think there was like this like a transitional period where it's like I can't do that.
I just stopped arguing with them because it's like fine, give me the $100.
Right.
Maybe I did.
It was
start
too
doing
many.
that.
It was too many.
It was a lot.
It was every day. All
like
day.
you can't say no to those.
I think we wanted to print T-shirts upside down and then have it for me.
Yeah.
And have like a sailing ship upside down. And have the water.
That's what I always would tell people back then. If you have a T-shirt with a print on it, you're not going to get it the other way around because it's for you.
Every once in a while, we'll still get someone that wants it facing them.
I don't even care anymore.
No,
it's your tattoo.
They're like, it's
however
for me.
You want it. That's how I want to do it.
Well, and they'll tell me it's for me. I was like, well, no, it's not. It's for you. It's for everyone else. If it was for you, it'd be down here,
right?
Or it'd be under something. But when it's here, it's for everyone else to see.
It doesn't mean more because it's facing you. The act of getting it—that's what means a lot.
That's right.
Yeah. I think it's funny when they get the cross upside down.
Yeah.
I don't say anything.
I never would tell them for
I think
that.
it's hilarious.
I love
it.
it.
They're facing me. All right.
Or they'll get it straight like this and they put it down. So it's like, yes, Satan lives. Yeah. So what are you guys doing nowadays for fun? Like we talked about all the stuff you guys used to do. What do you do now?
I'm very busy, but it's not always with tattoo stuff.
Okay.
Now I'm busy, being a husband and a dad.
You got a family.
When
here,
20s, even early 30s, I didn't cook. We just ordered food all the time. When I started having kids, I was like, man, I can't feed these kids this shit.
Right.
So I cook more now, I do like that stuff too. I do like Italian food. So I will study Italian food. I look at stuff, recipes. I don't look at Italian American recipes. I will look at recipes from Italy.
Okay.
So I like doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And I like doing home stuff, I'm
He's
not
always
mad.
been a real homebody.
Oh, for sure. But I'm not mad that I'm doing laundry for 4 people, because
it's your family.
the other 3 people that I'm doing the laundry for mean the most in the world to me.
Yeah, I get really annoyed by people that complain about being an adult. Like, oh, that's enough adulting. It's like, shut the fuck up.
You're an adult.
Grow up. Yeah.
I like it when guys complain they have to babysit their kids.
Oh, right. I gotta watch my kids, man. Like, what?
It's not babysitting. It's your own kid.
Right.
Fucker.
Yeah.
You had them.
Or dudes that think they get extra credit. It's like, no, man, like you're their father. You're supposed to do
It's
that.
the bare
stuff.
minimum.
Yes.
Jeez. No, my dad never babysat us,
Yeah.
I'm the youngest of 7, so I had brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But my oldest son, 17, Diego, he's really into music. He plays drums. He loves metal. So when shows come around, I take him to all the shows he wants to. The other day, we came down here to Chicago to see Cannibal Corpse and Meshuggah.
Was it great?
So it was awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you the oldest guy there?
I was not. No,
Okay.
Meshuggah, and both of those bands are old bands now.
Yeah.
All those guys are all in their 50s.
It's not the same.
No. But it's strange because it's a metal show. It's really metal. And that may have been one of the most mild-mannered rock shows that I've ever been to.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Was your kid raging? Was he loving it?
Yes.
Okay.
And I love that.
Okay, good.
I love that I'm the person that is able to do that with him.
That's
I
amazing.
was lucky enough to have a couple of older brothers that took me to some really amazing shows as a teenager. So I love spending time with my kids and doing stuff with my kids.
Yeah.
So
Good.
So I'm not mad that I'm spending a little less time doing tattoo stuff, because eventually I won't be able to do that stuff with them. And I can always go back to painting.
Yeah.
So.
And as long as you can see and your hands work, you'll be able to tattoo.
But I mean, maybe there's going to be a time where they don't want to go with their old man.
Yeah, they're going to start going with their friends.
Sure. That's cool too.
He's going to find a woman and
Yeah.
that's right. And have his own
But
family.
I think that, I'd like to think that someday they're going to be in their 30s or 40s and talking with their friends and be like, man, my dad took me to all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe that person's gonna be like, my dad never took me to shit.
Well, that's me.
So,
Yeah.
that's my goal now. It's like, I want to do stuff with them.
Yeah, that's good. That's amazing. That makes their life better.
Hope so.
It does. My dad didn't take me to a concert. My dad took me to Burger King,
I mean, my parents, we had 7 kids, so that stuff wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
But also so my dad, he pretty much grew up in Chicago, but he was born in Mexico. His family moved up to Chicago when he was 9. But we were still culturally very different, I grew up way more American. So there was a lot of stuff that, no, he wasn't going to take me to a punk rock show.
Right.
No, what the hell was he going to be doing there?
Same, yeah. It's like same with my mom.
Right.
She came here from Mexico when she was 17. So like she's been in the States 60 years. And she's became a citizen in the 80s. All her kids are born here except for one. and she speaks fluent English, whatever, retired from the schools, all that shit. She still refers to Americans, the
And
white people.
She's still a Mexican lady.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then she said, "Oh, it's American." And I tell her, like, "Mom,
You're American.
we're Americans. You're an American." Like, yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Wow, that's so.
But that's also an American thing too, though, because there's a certain population that people like us will never be full American. You know, we are Mexican American.
Yeah.
You know, there's always a hyphen there.
Well, that was definitely, again, back to the cultural differences, like in Wisconsin or Milwaukee. I mean, I would constantly be asked, like, "Oh, where are you from?" And say, "Oh, I'm from, like, the South Side."
yeah.
No, where are you really from?
Yeah. Where are you from?
I've never been asked that in Chicago.
Good.
Never.
Yeah, that's the same in California too. You know, I noticed too, people my age or older, you know, it wasn't weird for them to be 11 or 12 and listen to like the Smiths or
right.
what's that other band?
The Cure or something.
The Cure or Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Right.
Right.
Whereas here in Milwaukee at the same time, like, I mean, I remember hearing Depeche Mode on the radio once when I was a kid, and I was like, man, this is really cool. But we didn't grow up with that.
Well, we thought if you were a white kid and listened to that, you were pretty weird. So I'm sure they thought Mexican kids were even
weirder.
Yeah.
Because as a biker, we didn't listen to that at all. It wasn't on the jukebox in the Boot Hill Saloon. We weren't listening to it, you know? So I didn't start listening to rap or kind of modern music until I got a job at the High Life Fronton in Daytona Beach. And all the people there were into like young kind of rap, the new, you know. Right. So I started listening to Cameo. I thought that was rap.
Yeah.
Okay,
Nice,
I didn't know.
nice.
I was going to ask you about when, but now I know when.
That was what, late 80s, I guess. And I kind of got into it a little bit more, but I didn't really start listening to rap till I moved to New Orleans.
Oh, sure.
And, that's when I really started really liking it. And I was like, I got to find out what this shit is about. And so I bought everything. I had a friend that worked at Tower Records.
Oh, nice.
And so I would buy what I could, and then she would give me what they play, their airplay stuff.
Oh, nice.
And
see,
like, these are extras. And
I have now gone the reverse way. Listening to stuff my parents listened to, especially my dad. Like
what?
When I was a kid, I'm like, I don't want to listen to that.
Like what?
Crap, you know?
Doobie Brothers or what?
No.
What are you talking about?
My
Mexican.
dad.
Oh, Mexican music.
Vicente Fernandez. Or like Los Tigres del Norte.
Yeah.
And if you
listen,
listen to the lyrics of that stuff, it is gangster rap.
Yeah.
They are singing about the same stuff. Killing, I mean, there's a whole genre. You're right, no, but Los Tigres del Norte,
like the Mexican
for sure.
Frank Sinatra, Johnny Cash.
Okay.
He was bigger than both of them.
Kind of a rebel, but yeah.
The thing with Vicente Fernandez was that if you went to one of his shows, you were going to see children and 80-year-olds and everything in between.
Awesome.
He was that huge
cultural
to us.
icon.
Okay.
But still, you know, listening to what my dad used to listen to, it's like he was listening to the same stuff, just in a different language. Like he was listening to the Mexican version of NWA. But as a kid, I didn't hear that.
Right.
I just heard Spanish music, and I was like, I don't want that. So now I am listening to that stuff, and I was like, fuck, my dad was right. You know, like he had it, you know?
Wow. That's interesting. Well, I know something else you're doing now, Julio, that you're doing is you're writing books. You made a book.
Yeah, made a book. It's it's a short book. It's easy to read. Hopefully there's some fun illustrations you think are fun. It's the first 6 years of me tattooing. So when I got tattooed for the first time, and then it ends with me moving to San Jose and working at Marks of Art.
In a small Midwestern college town, Julio endures an unpredictable, drug-addled boss and his pet wolf.
Wow.
Dangerous out-of-town assignments plus a string of oddball characters and ridiculous situations. I believe that because I've been in a lot of ridiculous situations too.
Yeah.
You want to tell us a highlight of one of your ridiculous situations?
I mean, you mentioned the wolf. We can just talk about the wolf.
Let's talk about that.
So when I got hired, the guys would talk about, his wolf. He kept the wolf with his ex-girlfriend. They had a child together, and she lived. So this is a little more northern. The shop was in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. She lived in Plainfield, Wisconsin, which is more like rural. It's known for being the hometown of Ed Gein. Whatever.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they were always talking about this wolf he had. So I'd heard about the wolf. And then I'd show up to work, and he and his girlfriend show up with the wolf. I love dogs. We've had dogs in our family. This animal is not a dog. And you can tell right away from the vibe this animal gives off. Like, this is not, I'm not petting this
Did
thing.
he want to eat you think? Kill you? Attack you?
Man, I don't know. I tried not to look at it in its eyes. If he was in the lobby, I tried to be over here. But my job for that day was to take care of the wolf.
Now let me ask you this about the wolf. Did it have blue eyes?
I tried not to look at its eyes.
Like a tattoo.
I've seen a lot of tattoos like that.
So, right, yeah. So the way I was introduced to the wolf, I was in the back of the shop. The front door opens and there's like a ding, to let somebody's come in. So I go to the front. We had a little counter, which was really just a display case for body jewelry. So I get to the counter, and I don't know, 7 feet away from me is the fucking wolf. And they are huge. They are a lot bigger than you think they are.
Like 150 pounds?
Like think Great Dane size.
Okay.
Maybe bigger.
But furry.
But furrier. But the intensity of their stare is insane. You can see.
It's like when we were talking about the other day about when you're around a real 1%er.
Yes, yeah.
It's like the 1%er.
You
Yeah.
can see that.
Right.
You can see past their eyes. Like I could see intelligence behind there. So I'm frozen. Like and I'm thinking maybe I can, if I ran for the back door, maybe I might be able to get out. Maybe. And then I see in the corner the boss and his girlfriend. They're doing this thing, and they're laughing at me because they see the terror in my eyes. And so he comes in and he says, "I was like, dude, you can't do that. Like, he doesn't know me, And the boss was a mean motherfucker too. So he gets right in my face and he's like, you can't be scared around them. They can sense that shit. And I'm like, I don't know what the normal behavior is to be around a wolf. So the wolf, he didn't have a collar, a leash, nothing. He just had free range of the shop.
Wow.
And I mean, he is still a canine. So when male canines are around, they mark their territory. And he pissed all over. Like the bottom 2 rows of flash, the entire shop.
Oh no!
He had so much piss inside of him. I don't know where this came from.
Oh,
it was the color of Gatorade, the original Gatorade.
Oh.
And it smelled just like pure ammonia.
Oh wow!
So yeah, all day long, that's what I picked up wolf piss all day long.
Oh. What was the wolf's name? Do you remember?
Yeah. So the wolf's name was Four Socks because he was like a darker wolf and had white paws.
Oh.
But I thought that was that was a cool name, I guess, But there was nothing original by the dude that I learned from. He just got that from Dancing with Wolves. That wolf had 2 of them, so his name was Two Socks.
It's like 4 socks.
God, I was like, never mind. I take it back about being cool.
They couldn't even name it like Mike.
So, even before then, we would get calls at the shop saying, like, he had a huge enclosure for the wolf. They're like, hey, the wolf jumped the fence and he ate one of the ducks or the chickens. So they'd be like, well, he's a wolf. That's what they do. So they added more footing to the fence and he hopped that too. And I think eventually they made it so that the fence went in, so he couldn't hop over that. but I only saw the wolf the one day. They're not pets. We're not supposed to have them. I asked him where he got it from, and he used to live in Colorado. He worked at a shop in Denver. And I mean, according to him, there was a lot of stuff that he said that was maybe it was true, maybe some of it was true, maybe all of it was a lie. You just didn't know. But he said that he knew some people that accidentally found the wolf den, and he asked where it was, and he scoped it out. Waited for an opportunity, and he went in there, and there was a litter of puppies, and he grabbed the puppy.
Sounds like bullshit.
It's all calm.
It sounds like bullshit,
but
that wolf was there. So I mean, I don't know where. I can't imagine you adopting a full-grown wolf.
Yeah.
No, as adults, no.
No,
not gonna happen.
Right.
So I don't know what happened to that wolf. I mean, that guy was eventually arrested in another state. So.
It got confiscated.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what you do with it. I mean, I could even see that woman just being like, well, fuck this.
Boy had tigers,
opening the gate and just letting the wolf run. And then, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I just always felt bad for that wolf. Like, you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah. Maybe he got let go into northern.
But still, they would just die. Like, they're pack animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need other ones.
Or if he
or
ran
the humans become your pack if you let them.
But he lost his pack. He lost the guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened to that wolf. But stuff like that happened every day. Every day was another, fuck, what are we going to have to endure today? Or it was yesterday I didn't work. So something probably happened. And now we got to deal with it today, I mean,
I left it for you.
Right. Right. You leave all that wolf piss there. I mean, he started selling meth out of the tattoo shop at one point.
That's a good business.
And I mean, when he wasn't doing it,
right?
But one of the guys that did work there, he wanted to learn how to tattoo. He was from out of state. They must have had a phone conversation. And he was like, I want to learn. What do I have to do? And he agreed to teach him how to tattoo in exchange for drugs. Like, send me a bunch of meth, and then you can come and work here. I showed up to the shop, and the back area was just tore up. And it was my job to clean. So I knew, I left here last night, and it was spotless. And now there's all this stuff that I don't even know what the stuff is. And then I start looking around, like, there's an old scale when we put the thing on, you need to do this, and then you see the little Ziploc baggies that are this big, and a sandwich definitely isn't fitting in there, and that's when it's like, oh, fuck me, man.
We're a drug den.
So we worked for a few weeks, until he ran out.
Yeah.
But it was just stuff like that every day.
And did that guy learn to tattoo? Do you remember?
Oh yeah. And in fact, me and another guy, this guy T. Schwartz, we were supposed to go. He was living in Kansas. We were supposed to go to Kansas and help him move. We ended up not making it to Kansas because we drove into a blizzard.
Oh,
so, and that story's in the book as well.
Okay.
But no, he was a part of the crew too. He had a bunch of Jack Ruby tattoos on him. He also had a bunch of prison tattoos on him. And the prison tattoos were so good that you couldn't tell that they were, done in the joint.
All right.
But yeah, he was there too. And, I loved working with him, but he was a fucking maniac too.
There were a lot of maniacs back then.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, people say, well, why did you stick around? And I just thought that's how it was. Like, it doesn't matter what, it didn't matter what shop I got into. They're all gonna be like this.
Yeah.
What year was that, you think?
That was 94, 95.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. It was good and crazy then.
There's some of that stuff that I miss, being around meth, I don't miss. And then just that environment, the boss and his girlfriend basically lived at the shop, and they were constantly yelling at each other. Like, we would be tattooing, and he would have an argument with his girlfriend while we tattooed. She'd be in the other room, and they would be screaming at the top of, Can you imagine being like a little 18-year-old college girl getting your butterfly tattooed on you, and the mean biker guy tattooing you is telling his girlfriend in the other room to shut the fuck up. You know, and you're like first time away from home, getting your first little ankle tattoo, and here you are.
I remember when I was at Chicago Tattoo, an older guy that worked there was rough around the edges. I remember there was a couple times I saw him make little college girls cry.
Oh,
just talking to them before the tattoo.
Oh, man.
And then I remember I was there once, and it was her first tattoo. I think she's by herself. She's like 18, and she's like trying to describe what she wants. And he went back and forth and drew her a couple of things, and he must have drawn it 5 times.
Ooh.
And then he's like, you know what? Come back when you know what the fuck you want. And like threw the paper at her and walked back. And
I kind of agree with him.
I do too, but I wouldn't have said it that way.
Right? No, of course not.
She went and sat on our front couch and just silently started weeping.
Whoa.
Just crying. And I go, hey. I don't want to say his name because I don't, I don't want to make him look bad.
Sure.
And I was like, hey man, she's up there crying. She's on the couch just crying. And he was like, man, because then he felt terrible. He would do something like that and then immediately feel like a piece of shit and hate himself for it. And he's kind of like a Buddhist and stuff too. He's like the angriest.
Not a very good Buddhist.
He's the angriest Buddhist. Every day was a struggle to be like the Buddha, so it's like
Nirvana was many lifetimes away from me.
Yeah. Thanks, Annette.
Oh,
luckily there was no Yelp back then or anything, and I think he did end up tattooing her on a different day.
Wow.
But but again, there was, I don't know, where else was she gonna go? And he made up
not
for
get tattooed.
and that's what tattooing was back then. If you were a customer too, like you just got to take the abuse that tattooer is going to give you.
Right. You might have a funny story, or you might be traumatized.
I think it was more like you tried not to say anything.
Yeah.
You just, that's the one I want. I want it right here. I'm just going to sit here and not say anything.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to leave.
Right. If they ask you something, say
the shortest answer possible.
Yeah.
Well, for dude, that might be how it was for dudes. For girls, it was a little different.
Oh,
Sure.
of course.
Like, maybe not that college girl, but for girls like me, we're a little tougher. It was a little different. Like, they invited us into the shop. They were happy to tattoo us.
Sure.
Whatever design you want.
Right.
As long as your shirt is off.
Right. Yeah. I'm tattooing your ankle.
At that point too, it was like now we tattoo. Even my whole career, really, we've tattooed women every single day.
Yeah.
Was it? Do you think back then for that guy, maybe he hadn't tattooed a woman in 3 weeks?
Or seen boobs in 3 weeks or something. Yeah.
I'm not saying that as an excuse for that, but maybe they were like very. I mean, they were obviously just creeps too.
They were creepy, and they wanted to see boobs, and it wasn't. Nobody really protested against it. We just thought that's the way it was.
That's the way it's done. Yeah.
That's the way it is. If I'm going to get a tattoo on my arm, I'm going to have to show my boobs. Like, this guy doesn't care I'm only 16. Yeah. Can you imagine now some 16-year-old has her shirt off getting a tattoo?
You just want to get out alive with a good tattoo.
I knew I wasn't getting hurt, and I knew they weren't going to fuck with us or hurt us or anything, but they were really curious about how we looked naked and where we wanted to put the tattoo, and they were happy to show us other places we could put it if we would let them, Of course, we were kind of bossy too, so we were like, get the fuck out of here. I'm not taking my pants off. Like,
I mean, good for you, but I mean, think of how many women are not like that.
Yeah. No, a lot aren't.
Most, yeah. Especially back then.
I got my first tattoo in early 80s in a shop, and I think it was during Mardi Gras in Mobile, Alabama.
Wow.
I'll never forget, 69 Jackson Street, Mobile, Alabama.
Wow, good address.
Yeah, and it was an old biker shop. It was the Rats MC. That was my first shop tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
I got my real first tattoo at the Rats Clubhouse. Clubhouse. And that's where I got told to make sandwiches and stuff because I couldn't tattoo, but I could draw them, but I couldn't do them.
Yeah.
that's just the way it was. We didn't think anything of it. I wasn't mad. I was whatever.
Was there, I mean, we talked about like technology or communication being different back in the day. I mean, we all lived through it, and that's just what it was.
Yeah.
Phone calls, letters, whatever.
Right.
Did you ever, like, say by the time you were tattooing a few years, did you network with any other women tattooers at the time? Or I know you worked for Jackie, but did you know Deb Yarian back then? Or
no, well, funny enough, so I came up in Daytona. I lived in Daytona. I did not know Cindy until I worked for Lou.
Okay.
And I knew who she was then. But the lady I worked for, Cindy, she was a biker and she had other biker friends. So Miss Vicky, who was from New York, she would come down. But other than that, talking about Deborah Yaron, she used to be she used to have a different name. She was married to another man.
Yeah.
And I would see them in the bars, and he had some badass tattoos from her. I remember there was a picture of him like this and his rib piece showing. It was some punk rock lady or something super cool.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, a girl did that. Awesome. And I saw them in all the bars, and I would just be in awe of her, of Deborah, because she was working with all those tattooers in the Daytona Underground for Bike Week. And you didn't really see them working except then. Like, I knew she was a tattooer. I didn't know where she tattooed.
Yeah.
Obviously in her house, because there were no shops in Daytona.
Right.
Yeah.
They had a little studio set up, and Gil was there. And Roy Boy and Deborah Cooper would come down. And so they actually made the front page of the paper when they got busted.
Right.
And I remember that. And I remember thinking, oh, poor Deborah got arrested. Like, I see her all the time. How is she going to tattoo? Like, oh, I was so worried about her. You know, and at that point, I was probably 16, 17,
wow,
18, you know, sneaking into the bars.
Because I've been asked, and you and I have talked about this, like, I think just once, because we never even really thought about it, but I've been asked, like, oh, what was it like being, like, Mexican and trying to get into tattooing? And it's like, I never faced
it was
any
not an
racism.
issue.
It was never an issue, but we're also straight men. I think women had it tougher than even a minority would, just because we were straight men. Yeah. And maybe we were just also lucky to never work with, like, racist assholes. I know I've never have. So, but I think the sexism was stronger, the misogyny was stronger, probably especially in the 80s and 90s.
Well, they would try, but they didn't get anywhere with me because it didn't work.
You're a tough rock.
You weren't putting me down by saying I'm a woman.
Not all women are tough
because,
like you.
Well, my mother taught me from 6th grade.
Yeah.
You can do anything a man can do, but you're better because you're pretty. You're a woman. You got insight that men will never know.
Right.
I didn't know what that was.
Right.
I didn't know.
Sure. Yeah, you're young. You don't get it.
I didn't realize it. I was just like, okay, Mom, whatever.
But it's still good for you to hear.
I heard that, and I didn't realize that was permanent in my brain, and I just lived my life that way. And I just, whatever I wanted to do, whether it was ride a motorcycle, rebuild the motorcycle when I blew it up, or you know, anything I had to do, I just did it, whatever. I never thought, oh, I'm a woman, I can't do this.
Right.
Like they do now. Just don't think about it. Just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell somebody you can't. I remember what the lady that taught me, she did have a guy who told her, why are you teaching this girl? What is she going to bring to tattooing? How is she going to make tattooing anything? Well, motherfucker, I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
I don't think he is. I think he went to prison, and he might have tattooed in prison, but I've had a pretty damn good career thanks to Cindy, you know. Yeah. She taught me the right way.
Isn't spite a beautiful motivator sometimes?
It really is.
That's been my motivation throughout a lot of my life.
Steve too. Steve too.
Spite from a young age.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't tell me I can't do it because I'm gonna try hard. You know. And I remember them telling me when I left New Orleans, oh, where are you going to, you know, how are you going to be successful in Florida? Who's going to hire you? Well, I did try to get a job in a couple places, and I didn't get a job in places I wanted to go. So I was like, I had some friends in Tampa. I was like, fuck it, we're opening our own place. And it was supposed to be all of us together, but they were all scared shitless. So I stood up and I did it, and I went and did it. And that's the only reason I became a shop owner is because
I visited that shop.
in Tampa.
Yeah, Blue
Wow.
Devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
In New York City. Yeah.
But you were gone.
Oh, yeah, that
was
was your
gone.
show.
Adam, I think.
Adam. I sold it to Adam.
Yes, I met him.
He was a
there.
really nice guy. He sold it too.
Okay.
He's out of the business now, but he did real well with it.
Yeah.
He took it way farther than I ever could. I got sick of it there.
I might still have a T-shirt.
Really?
Maybe. It was a white T-shirt. I know that. But a friend and I, Jesse, we went and tattooed during Daytona one year. And we found out that it wasn't legal in Daytona proper. Or there was one shop, I think, that was kind of grandfathered in. Everybody else was in New Smyrna.
Right, okay.
And they're all kind of on the same drag, too.
US 1.
I don't
that
remember
highway
the
that goes
street,
down to New Smyrna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a trip, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, Florida tattooing is not what it used to be.
No.
It's crazy now. I can't even imagine doing a convention in Florida. I don't even know what it would be like. But
I don't know.
I'm gonna try next year, I think, and do a couple and see what happens.
I remember being in that first shop in Oshkosh. We got phone calls from people that worked for Ken Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
He had all those shops, and he was calling shops to say, "Hey, you want to come work in Florida?" And back then, like, I knew enough to say no. You know, it's not my place to say that. You know, and now thinking back, I'm like, man, that's a lot of fucking balls calling up other tattoo shops.
Well, that's what
and
Lou would
asking,
do.
you know, like, hey, and you or any of your guys want to move down to Florida? Like,
Can you imagine if you did that now?
no. I don't think I even told the boss, like, hey, man, some guy from Florida called. Later on, I figured out who it was, you know, but I didn't know who it was then.
Well, Lou was always like, scalp. Get your best people from the shop up the street. You know, be the best shop and then steal them from up there. And they're just going to make your shop better. And it was a shop mentality.
Sure.
Let's make the whole shop great.
Right,
you know?
right.
And
Which is a great mentality.
it is. If
It
you're
is,
willing
but-
to work together, you know, and that's something Steve and I try to keep going with our shop is to make it a super shop, not a superstar.
I'm spoiled because
Right.
I've been working with the main group of guys here for this summer will be 21 years we've been working together. So definitely lucky there.
Yeah, that's a great track record, you know.
Or like you've had Eric with you for 10 years now.
Yeah,
so
10 years,
that's a stretch.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
We got a guy with us, been there 8 years.
Yeah.
And, he's getting into real estate now, so I don't know. If real estate gets better, he might quit tattooing. Let's talk about that for a minute. How about people that quit tattooing for no reason?
That's fine. Yeah.
Oh,
You
now
know,
I want them all.
I used to, when I would hear somebody quitting tattooing, you know, maybe like 20 years ago, I did not get it. Like, what are you doing?
We were talking about
what
that,
is
like
your
when Hicks
problem?
quit, and I was like, wait,
You know,
people quit?
why would you quit?
quit this?
But now older, and I get it now too. I'm like, oh, if this isn't making you feel good, or if there's something else that you think is going to make you feel better as a person, then get the hell out. Go do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking down on that person.
Yeah.
You know, if
'Cause
for whatever reason, you don't owe me any reason.
Well, because especially now you are taking money out of somebody else's pocket who really loves it,
Right.
who wants to work, who wants to do it, and who's got no other options maybe. Because that's the other thing. A lot of it was back then. It's like for a lot of us that got into it, we didn't come from money. College wasn't an option, or taking over your parents' business or anything else. It's like you didn't have options. Like now you meet all these kids and it's like, I figured I was going to be an illustrator, or if my band was almost made it and then we didn't, and then I thought, I'll just do tattoos. Like, you motherfucker. We didn't even have options. Like,
Right.
you have other options. Or how a lot of people that go to college and get a degree and then they start tattooing. It's like, what are you doing? You have a college degree, go do that. Like, leave us alone.
Yeah. I think it should be left to people that appreciate the lowbrow part of it. I don't think they should try to make it highbrow. It is not. It's a lowbrow art. It's a scumbag art, really, if you think about it.
And that's even part of the attraction for higher brow people.
Yeah.
They want to slum it a little bit sometimes and come to the tattoo shop, or come pal around. You get those people that are super square and from the straight world, and you treat them nice and you're cool, and they come get tattooed, and then they feel like, hey, these guys think I'm cool, and they're cool, so like they start coming around, you know.
Yeah.
And that's cool. It's cool that a tattoo shop can be a special place like that.
Yeah.
It is. And I think everybody gets maybe not the same feeling, but they get that special feeling.
Something, yeah. They're getting something out of not just the tattoo they walk out with, but the whole experience.
Yeah. I know, and for me, that is part of it too. If you get tattooed by me, you're getting the tattoo. But chances are you're going to hear some stories, or you're going to be an audience member of what goes on in the tattoo shop.
I like that, audience member.
And you're going to go home and like, I got this really cool tattoo, but this is what happened
You'll
at the
never
shop.
believe what they were talking about in
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
Because they can't do that. You know, they're going to their office job, or, you know, there's somebody that has an HR job where they work. They can't say that stuff. Where they, and it's not even necessarily bad stuff. You know,
it's just different alternative functions.
Because what's normal to us really is not normal to most people. Like if we talk about going to everyone I know, I think I can say confidently, almost everyone, not you, has been at least arrested or like gone to jail. That's just like, oh yeah, whatever. But then I forget sometimes I'm talking to a customer or person and their eyes go wide like, jail. Like that's like the worst. Like I can't even imagine going to jail. It's like, you know, when you're young, you're in the street a lot.
And they're like, oh no.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just like they feel uncomfortable, but we try to not make anyone feel like they shouldn't be in our shop. It's like, even if they think we're like cooler than they are, which we are, I don't want to make anyone feel like they don't belong in there. Yeah. Unless you're a fucking beat off. You know, you shouldn't be in there. But
no, I like to include everybody in the stories. You know, our shop is open. You don't get that experience in a private studio with private rooms. You know, you just don't. You're only exposed to that one person.
You know what's so funny to me about a lot of the private shops where it's like hidden, they don't even make their address public and all that shit. They're also the ones that are the loudest about being inclusive. It's like, but your door's locked.
That's true.
At our shop, anyone can walk in and anyone can get tattooed. You know, You're picking and choosing who you even give your address to.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty damn good point there, Mario.
This is all I think about is tattoo shit. That's like all I think about, and when I'm not busy with my kids or hanging with my wife or whatever, like I'm trying to paint, draw, look at tattoo books, I watch tattoo documentaries, think about tattooing. You know, if I go for a walk, I'm usually thinking about tattooing or listening to a tattoo podcast. I listen to a lot of tattoo podcasts, and I owe it so much. I'm like so grateful to it.
Everything.
Even now, I loved it in the beginning. I was fascinated by it and excited by it, but now I can look back at 28 years and what it's given me. I mean, I met my wife through it. You know, having a house in Chicago, like everything, I owe it so much. Like, I'm just grateful.
Same.
Yeah.
And that's why it hurts me to see people disparage tattooing. When I see people that aren't loyal to tattooing, or that, and it's my version of loyalty. Okay, it's not their version. There's no book that says this is what loyalty in tattooing is. You know, it's my version of loyalty from what I've learned from the people that I've watched.
Yes.
Cindy and Lou and and Jackie and Moses and so many more. You know, many influences I had. The one thing, you know, they said, don't disrespect tattooing. Don't let other people disrespect it. If you see somebody disrespecting it, say something. And I guess that's why I got a reputation as a bitch sometimes, because I will say something. I will say, that's not right, what you're doing. Yeah. Don't do that. And, sometimes I'll see friends like post something that's not right. I know it's not right. You're not supposed to do that. Like, there are some rules to tattooing, and there's certain things you should not do. Yeah. And when I see that online, whether it's my friend or not, I usually say something.
Yeah, or things you don't talk about in public.
I don't. Yeah. For instance, somebody wrote something when Tattoo City was closing, and I know the guy that wrote it, and he said, what about the other location where all the good stuff is or something? And then somebody commented, there is no other location. Oh yeah, it's right around the corner, you know.
Yeah.
I inboxed him. I said, hey man, they don't want to get robbed.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want people knowing about that stuff. That's kind of private.
Yeah.
Would you please take that down? Because I think maybe Doug asked him to take it down and he didn't. And then he said, oh man, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Thank you. You
Right,
know,
right.
once they were
Well,
thankful.
people are very quick to, they want to show everyone what they know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have done that
Yeah.
publicly, you know.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I did it private because I know the guy.
Yeah.
Now, I've had that happen to me too, where I've made a comment, somebody died, and everybody was writing the comments, and I said, I love your flash. Every time I tattoo it, I'll think of you and I'll remember how great you were.
Mm-hmm.
And some asshole from the West Coast had to comment, he doesn't want you doing his flash. You're supposed to draw your own shit. Oh, I wrote him back. I inboxed him. I said, motherfucker, shut the fuck up. He made flash.
Yeah.
And every time I do a tattoo from his flash, I send him the fucking picture and he writes me back and tells me he loves it.
Yeah.
So you need to sit the fuck down and don't ever comment on anything I say ever again.
Yeah.
It was
Please.
a tattooer?
It was a tattooer. A little dick tattooer. And I think he was from Seattle. You know who you are. You're probably not watching this because I'm a bitch. But
I mean, what do they think flash is for?
I don't know, but why would somebody make a flash poster or flash and then get mad if you tattoo it?
Right.
Well, you
that
see
is
all these-
exactly what it's for.
see
It's
all
for
these
you
people-
to do
You
it.
see all these people that are talking about, you know, giving away technique and all these things and trying to be these social media stars.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, obviously their tattooing isn't cutting it for them. So they should get out. But instead, I'll just keep it, I'll just exploit it for fucking likes and whatever. And then there's so many people snitching on themselves. You know, like you look in their bio and it's like how much they charge, cash only, this and that. And you look on their website and it has prices and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You think the IRS isn't going to eventually be looking around, or you tattoo some IRS agent or somebody, and then it's just like it's just stupid. It's
Well,
like there's
remember-
some shit you don't talk about.
Right. Well, MySpace used to have your income on there at the bottom. You know, they have your little bio,
Oh,
and
you
you'd answer,
could-
your favorite book
Oh,
or your
yeah.
favorite band, and
Kinda
blah blah
remember
blah.
that, and
And
you could put it
what's your income?
right.
And some people would put it down there.
Yeah.
I made $4 million.
Yeah.
You know, like, come on IRS, come try to find it. You know,
Right.
like
It's like obviously you're kidding.
Yeah. But people would put 64,000, or I'm like, you really made 64,000? Like,
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah.
Right.
Fucking idiot. And if one person gets audited in a shop, the whole fucking shop is getting audited as well as the shop owner, and
Yeah,
you're
we've
gonna be
seen
in
that
fucking
happen.
trouble.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen it too. And you're gonna get in fucking trouble.
Yeah.
So, whew. But
I think it's such a weird thing now too, but even tattoo equipment, like if your ink bottles came with a label on, first thing we did was peel the
Scratch it
label
out.
off,
That's right.
or your
I
power
still
unit
don't have
had it
labels
on
on.
there. I still use the power unit I bought in '95.
thank you.
Yeah,
I got my 96
but there
one.
I have a sticker over the front. Like,
Right.
I mean, I don't mind it if what I'm using is made from my friend. Then I will tell you, if you need one, go see my friend.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I never tag all the fucking shit. Everybody's got like stupid sponsorship.
Yeah.
Right.
They
But
think
if
that
it's stuff
means
like
something.
that, I'm like,
But I tell people, because I use all of Julio's pigment, and I tell people yeah, this is what I use, or every once in a while I'll tag him in the photo. But it's just so. It's just been so, tattooing's like gentrified.
One time I did the thing where you tag everything. So I tagged my machine and my inks and my needles. And then I tagged my shirt and my bra. And I tagged my jeans and my underwear and my socks and my shoes.
Right.
And people were like, what the fuck? They asked me, why'd you tag your diesel jeans?
I'm an
Like,
influencer.
don't you know I wear diesels? Like, come on. Like, what the fuck? Don't you know Nike, the shoe?
Yeah, if it's a friend, I'll take something like a machine or something.
But I think, you know, if you're buying that stuff, you can buy from tattooers.
Yeah, I agree. When you can, buy it from a tattooer. I don't fall into the trap of all these new gadgets that are really kind of useless. Like, we used to stir ink with your machine or a toothpick. Now they have these electric fucking ink mixers.
Well, you know what those are. Well, we used to, so I never really liked them, but I did make one. And I first learned about this when I first came to Chicago. The guys I worked with would make those exact things that now they produce and sell as that.
Yeah.
I am a gatekeeper, but I will tell you this. You get it's a denture cleaner. It's a denture brush from Walgreens that costs like $5.
Okay.
You take the end of a Q-tip, you cut it, and you put that into the edge of it, the end of it.
Okay.
That's your ink stirrer. That's all it is. That's all it is. You don't have to pay whatever they charge for those.
They're like $60 or something.
Yeah. No,
Just
it's just
fucking
You
ink.
can get it in hot pink.
It's just a denture brush.
It's,
It's just an electric denture brush from the drugstore with a Q-tip in the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But I never liked them either.
The secret's out.
I'd always hit the edge of the cup and
It would fly out.
Yeah.
there's
I also don't blend
a tool.
anymore.
There's a tool that we use in tattooing, and I won't say what the tool is. But one of the old companies that's no longer around used to sell them. And my old boss, Scotty, had one. And I was like, I know you don't use this. Can I have this? He's like, yeah, you can have it. But I never knew what other application this thing was
where it
used
came
for.
from.
Right.
Yeah.
So that company closed down. You can no longer buy this thing. There's a company now that does sell them, and they sell them for like $100 or something. And so I've always had my one. One of the guys I used to work with was tattooing a guy, and I knew he was in some kind of trades, you know, and his name was Bubba. Right, you know.
They have to up this
I know, right? Yeah. So I held it up. Hey, Bubba, what's this? And he goes, and he told me, but he said it with like a question. It's this. I was like, thank you. And I looked it up, and yeah, they're like $12, and this company is selling them for $100. It's got their name on it, and it's like, yeah.
Well, it's like everyone wants the black drape sheets,
Right.
And the black
gloves.
this and that, and it's like, what are you doing? Just fucking go to your local medical supply company.
That happened to me at Costco. You know, I was buying gloves there, and the guy at the counter is like, he had a bunch of tattoos on him, and he's like, you don't want to get the black gloves?
Yeah.
And I leaned in on him. I was like, is it gonna make me a better tattooer? And you just didn't know what to say. I was like, I don't give a shit what color my gloves are.
Yeah,
They're just
we've lost a lot of
It's not
that.
fashion.
We've lost a lot of that kind of thing. Where like I remember when the meat packs first started being used as bandages, and I would buy mine like a box of 1,000 of them from a poultry supply company in Wisconsin, and they're very, very cheap. And I would just get it from them, and like that's kind of part of the cool thing about it. Like remember. Before those red rat grips, we would use the heater hose.
That's right.
We would go to We would go to the auto supply store and you'd buy radiator heater hose and cut it to size and put it on your tube. And
And take it off. So you
after a few times you sterilized it though. Well, I would run it through.
So they would break
It
down.
would be real brittle and stiff, but I
But
like
they're so cheap,
I
you
like
can
that
just-
kind of like folksy stuff. You know, like that. A lot of that's missing. Now, you know, a lot of things are way more convenient, which is cool and it's great. I'm not going to bitch about convenience necessarily. But
shipping is convenient, and paying for stuff is convenient now. Like I like that aspect.
Yeah.
Now you tell somebody it's going to be about 2 weeks before you get your package. They'll lose their damn minds.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they can't wait a minute. So, Julio, why don't you tell everybody where your shop is and how they can get a hold of you?
The shop is called Cornerstone Tattoo. It's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's 4030 South Howell Avenue. You can get a hold of me on Instagram. It's Julio Avila 7. Facebook, Julio Avila.
And he's got this great book. You can check out the book. We meant to talk about it.
You can get it on my website, which is julioavila.com.
Yeah, go there. Don't go to Amazon. Go right to him and get it. The name of it's Tales of a Tattoo Apprentice. And he did Apprentice, and he does have some tales, and he got some wild stories.
Yeah.
So check
way
those out.
different than your apprenticeship.
And
if you're newer.
and Mario did a really nice intro. I knew it was you before I even read it was you. I could just tell the way you were talking. I was like, this has got to be Mario. And I flipped. It is. So that's really awesome. And congratulations on the book. How long has it been out?
4.5 months.
Okay. And it's got some great stories. I started it last night. I didn't get very far because I was sleepy, but not from the book. It was like 11. It was 11 at night. I was stoned. I wasn't sleepy. I was stoned.
Oprah's book club.
Oprah's going to be featuring this next week, and if she doesn't,
you're going to get a copy. You're going to get a copy.
And Mario, I think everyone knows where you're at, but say so anyway.
You'd be surprised.
Oh, everyone knows you.
No,
Everyone.
No, I don't have enough followers on Instagram.
Really?
Now you gotta have 100K.
Oh man.
Yeah, Mario Desa at Great Lakes Tattoo in Chicago on beautiful Grand Avenue.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It's a great shop. Thanks to Nick for having such a great shop there.
Yeah, Nick Colella.
Yeah,
And Sarah Colella, his wife, and Allison, our manager, who's like definitely a big part of why it's successful.
Yeah, that's a great location. Yeah. Great shop. I haven't been to yours. I'll go next time.
All right, we'll be around.
Yeah, and maybe we should go tomorrow, Steve. We got nothing to do tomorrow. We'll go back up to Milwaukee or something.
Okay.
You guys want to say anything else? What are you guys doing in the future? You guys got any fun stuff coming up?
I guess I could plug, this will be the first plug for it really. Wrath and I are doing an art show here in Chicago. August 16th is the opening. It's going to be at Great Lakes in the gallery downstairs.
Oh, what a great place to hang art down there. It's just awesome.
So that'll be happening August 16th.
Awesome.
2025.
Okay, that's great.
So I've been busy making stuff for that when I can. So.
Well, you are one of the most flash producing people that I know. I mean, you showed me you showed Steve and I your space where you work, and it's really inspiring. I can see why you love to work so hard. It's a great place to be. And,
at home. And then at the shop, if I'm not tattooing, I'm usually painting flash. Yeah,
you're just a real tattoo man.
It's
you are what it means to be a fucking tattooer.
Such a compliment.
No, it's
especially
true.
from you. I mean it.
It's true. Well,
because I love that term.
Yeah.
And I really strive to try to be that more and more. And I've been doing those paintings at home for the show, but then at work over the last few months, I've painted 39 boards of flash. And a lot of times people are like, "What are you gonna do with them? What are they for?" I'm like, the work is the point. I'm doing it for myself and for tattooing, and to do it, it doesn't matter. I could paint them all and put them in a box.
Yeah.
I did it and I learned from it, and it's just a matter of keeping. What else am I gonna do? Fucking look at Instagram, watch TV. I don't know how people have time to watch all these TV shows that they ask me about. I don't give a fuck about Severance or any of these other shows. Yeah. This is what I do. I can't imagine. And I love movies. I love TV. Sometimes you want to zone out or just enjoy something that gives you pleasure that way. But most of the time it's like, well, why would I spend 3 hours binge watching some TV show when I could spend 3 hours on a painting or a flash sheet? That's going to benefit me not only in my soul and my head but work, and eventually sell as designs to people as tattoos. Or when I'm old, tattooers like to bitch about being broke when they're old or whatever. Well, maybe I'll have a stack of flash I could try to sell to young tattooers.
But you won't be broke. I know you.
I'm trying to be somewhat good with some money, but also it's like, hey, I also have this flash to sell. Yeah, cash only.
I think people that aren't creative don't get that. They don't get that we have to do this.
Well, people that aren't creative think you paint to have paintings, but you paint to paint.
They think it's because you're going to sell them.
Right. They think it's just to have paintings.
Sometimes it's that, but I can't even take commissions because
I won't take
as soon as it's a commission,
it's a job.
It's homework.
It's work,
And I won't do it. I'll put it off for months.
But for me, that's what tattooing is. You are commissioning me to do the thing that you want. Painting is for me. Yeah. I get to do the thing I want.
Good.
I'm in a good position. I'm very lucky, and really at our shop in general, we're lucky that, like we were saying, that street shop culture has been around here forever, and then it has become more popular again to want to pick flash or specific artist flash that you're coming to see. Yeah. So I'm in a good position where like I do get to do custom work that I'm asked for, but most of what I do is from my flash or my interpretation of old flash or directly from old flash. Good. Which is cool because I still get I get to be creative when I'm making all the flash and then when I'm tattooing it. But it's nice to just be able to show people all these designs and then they can kind of pick from that. And we talk about if I want to change a color or whatever, but I don't know. It's just like I don't understand. I don't know. I look at other tattooers and it's like I see them laying around on Instagram and it's like, I don't understand why you're not like looking at a tattoo book or drawing something or like, you know what I mean? I don't understand why you don't have that same passion I have, that same drive. And everyone's different and I can't knock anyone else for whatever. And obviously we're all addicted to Instagram. So there's definitely lots of times when 30 minutes goes by, I'm looking at Instagram like, oh shit, it's been 30 minutes. What the fuck? I gotta go paint something. I could have made a design. Because I keep work on my office table at home that I'm constantly keep coming back to when I can. Like we were saying the other day when you asked me when I have time with 2 little kids and tattooing full time and everything.
And a wife. That's what I wonder about. What does your wife think about you being in there painting all fucking day? Because I'd be a little upset if my husband was gone all day and night.
If she's at work, I'm off 2 days during the week when she's at work. Okay. So that's when I'm painting.
But you're not cleaning a house?
Well, that happens sometimes too.
I do that.
That happens too, but I try to get all that done first, right away in the morning. Okay. And then I can have a few hours to build machines, paint, whatever, even just read or try to read something, look at a book. And sometimes it's like, all right, she's got the kids in the bath. I have like 20 minutes and I'll come do like let me do all the green in this painting. I'm like, all right, you guys okay? You need me? Okay, cool. Give me 5 minutes. I mean, my wife's awesome. She gets it. She knows I have to do this.
She has to know who you are. I mean, that's part of you.
Yeah, she knows she knows it's beneficial to me and also can be obviously beneficial to the family with money. I mean, she works as well, but like she gets it.
There's another thing that's beneficial too, because if you're with somebody that takes some sort of offense to you painting, and then you feel like I can't paint right now because it's going to upset my partner, then that makes you feel shitty. And then you start being shitty.
Yeah.
Well, you get resentful.
You get resentful because they're not letting you
be you
or get this out. Like it's part,
So it's beneficial for your family for you to paint.
I like to produce and even like the way I still paint, I paint on board mostly. So I make a drawing or photocopy old flash or whatever I'm doing, and then I transfer it with carbon paper. And then I line it.
That's how I do
with a nib.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of times younger tattooers are visiting or something. They're like, "What do you do? Like, why do you do it like that? Like, put the paper on the light box." And it's like, nothing wrong with that. And I'll do that sometimes if I'm working on paper, but I'm not afraid of work. Yeah. You're never wasting time. Right. Everyone's so obsessed with doing things quick. That's why the iPads. That's a big excuse for the iPad. Oh, it's so much faster. It's like, well, it's never a waste of time to work on your craft. Right. So by the time I end up doing, if I make a flash sheet, by the time I tattoo this design, I've drawn it, I've traced it, I've lined it with ink. Yeah. I trace it again to make the stencil. Right. And now by the time I tattoo it, it's in here and it's fucking natural. And all those movements are engaged and like just in your brain. And even 28 years in, I want to keep that up and I want to train And, you know, I bet Michael Jordan still plays basketball every day, or
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Just because he loves it. And he wants to
Right.
keep on his game.
Yeah.
Not comparing myself to Michael Jordan in any way, but you know what I mean. Like,
You're not quite as
he's got
tall
that-
as he is.
not yet.
So
not
don't.
yet. Not yet.
You don't have as many kids as him either. I don't think. And that's a great point. And Mario, you are truly blessed to have the talent and the patience that you have to make
Thanks.
art. You know, a lot of people
I've
aren't
worked
blessed
at
with
it,
that.
though.
Well, a blessing
Yeah.
is an earned gift.
Mm,
It's not religious.
yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
earned gift.
Okay. I like
You
that.
have earned it. And you too, Julio. Both of you guys, you're some of the hardest working tattooers I've ever known. And I know a lot of people and I watch them.
Yeah.
Thank
know?
you. Thank you.
And I appreciate you guys a lot. And I think you guys are the future of tattooing. And I wish there were more like you.
I
wish more
appreciate
people-
you. I mean, when I first started tattooing, I mean, I knew you from magazines.
Oh,
Mhm.
oh.
You
Were my
and
clothes
the,
on?
and the tattoos.
Some of
You know,
the
your
time.
yeah.
Most of the time.
So I mean, you know, meeting you and Steve, like this is something special for me too, because you guys were people that I looked up to in magazines.
Because even at 28 years in, if there's someone around like you guys that are got years on me, like I'll be the quiet one. Like I want to listen to what you know, or I'll defer to your opinion if there's a big conversation going on. Because 28 years is a long time, but also there's people that are way been in it longer than me.
Yeah.
So, and I can still learn.
Yep.
But you can learn from people younger too.
You can too. I
I
don't want to
learned-
discount. I don't want to discount that.
I
Either.
learn from these kids that come and get tattooed from me.
Yeah.
Like I tattoo a lot of apprentices, 1 and 2 year apprentices, and a lot of tattooers' wives,
Yeah.
which is fine. I love it.
I like talking to young tattooers.
I do too.
and
I
meeting
enjoy
them.
it. I always ask them what
I'm very curious about
Yeah.
what it's like.
I ask them what they're doing,
Yeah.
how they got into it,
Yeah.
what machines they use.
But for me, there are a lot of those people.
Tons,
Lot.
thousands.
But the people that are further up, there's less
Yeah.
of those people,
Yeah.
which that's how I see you guys.
Yeah.
Well, thank
So,
you. Thank you.
That's who I want to listen to.
Well, thanks. And I
And
gotta say,
I think you see that a lot too, though, where, and I think I'm guilty of doing it as well when I was younger, is focusing more on my peers. A lot of younger tattooers, they're focused on who's
Sure, yeah.
their peers
I mean,
more.
that's the
and
easiest
making-
thing to do.
Making their groups and getting tattooed by these, and I feel like it's really important to seek the people that are 10 years above
Yeah.
you, 15, 20 years above you, and really like go get tattooed, like buy something, talk to them,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Mhm.
and not just because we want your money, but you're gonna learn something, and we enjoy
For
it.
sure.
I enjoy talking to all tattooers, really. Like most tattooers,
yeah.
but I love tattooing and talking about it and just being around it. And I mean, literally, if I have nothing to do, I'll watch. If I don't throw Goodfellas on, I'll throw on the Ed Hardy documentary or the Sailor Jerry documentary.
You know what I just found is the Ed Hardy roast from Seattle
Really?
on YouTube. You guys have got to go watch that roast because it's I think Leo does it, but the star of the show, Scott Harrison, gets on there and he roasts the shit out of Ed Hardy.
I've heard of this.
Crying. I was
Yeah.
laughing so fucking hard.
Yeah.
And Steve and I had just started dating, and I was sitting there, and I was trying to record it so I could send some to him, and I was laughing so hard my recording was
Yeah.
like this, and I couldn't even use it. And God, it was great, and I just found it online.
Well, it's like that Reno convention, that national convention we went to in 2001, and it's like Ed and Rollo had a booth there, and I had met Rollo once or twice before, but I'd never met Ed. And just went up to the booth and started talking to him.
Yeah.
I
We
bought
bought stuff.
I bought a drawing from Ed and a sheet from Rollo, and then later on, I was lucky to be able to hang with Ed a few times, over the years, and he didn't know. I don't know if you remember my name or not, but he usually remembered who I was, and that I was from Chicago and I worked for Dale because he knew Dale Grande back in the day. Rollo, oh hey Mario, what's up? Whatever. And that's just so cool.
It is nice.
It's just because you go up and you say, hey, I'm
Mhm.
so and so. it's really good to meet you, and you look, you know, maybe buy something or shoot the shit. Like,
Compliment them
one of the
too.
great things about tattooing, like
Yeah.
you can do that to someone you look up to.
You can meet your heroes.
Yeah.
And be careful, because some heroes are assholes.
Sometimes,
you know?
yeah. Sometimes it
They've
doesn't
all
work
been
out.
great to me.
Sometimes it doesn't work out, yeah. But
There's only been a couple of people in tattooing that are, I got a fucking asshole, but I never held them in high regard anyway.
Okay.
yeah.
Good. Well, I've gotten my feeling hurt by many, many tattooers because I say the wrong thing or ask a question, and you know they don't think I'm worthy of the knowledge.
Yeah.
So I get it, but I try to watch and not ask a stupid question because of that. You know. So I want to
lessons.
Yeah, and I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your days.
Sure thing, of
You
course.
could be
Thank
tattooing
you.
right now. You're over here talking about
But this is
tattooing. I
tattoo.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is tattoo. Like we're still doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes tattooing is like the other stuff, not doing the tattoo.
Right.
You know, it's everything else.
And I want to thank Steve, our producer today.
We didn't see it yet, so
Thank you, hon.
maybe watch it first.
Yeah, do you have a tip jar anywhere?
He's a good producer. He's helping a lot. He's very, very good.
He needs the headset though.
Yeah.
He needs a
Oh, my
computer
God.
so we can fact check
Clipboard,
shit.
headset.
Right.
Fact check
Oh
that.
right, all those podcasts and shit. Though, I was like, look that up, see if that's right.
You don't want to do that with
Man, I had a
tattoos.
fact checker.
It's all bullshit.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
all-
yeah, that's not true. That's not true.
I had a fact checker with Johnny, and that motherfucker fell asleep. He fell asleep. Alex, you fell asleep. But you're all right. Well, thanks a lot, you guys. This was awesome.
thank
you for having
I
us.
really
Thank
like
you.
this.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. All right.
Talk all day.
So I guess that's it for today, and I hope you guys will follow Julio and Mario, help get their counts higher. Sling some likes.
Please unfollow me. I hope that all that shit crashes one day.
I do too. When they said they were selling TikTok or had to sell TikTok, I was so fucking happy
Yeah, I'm
because
not
I
on
hate that shit.
I'm not on that shit.
I'm not on it either, but
I'm not a good enough dancer to be on TikTok.
Yeah.
yeah, I can't dance either. I'm too white. So thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. And I don't know when I'm going to do another one of these, but you'll see it when it's up, okay? So thanks, and see you around.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll do a little intro. I got a little intro thing. That
How do I make it stop?
you just hit stop.
There's
You
nothing
gotta
to
hit, or
stop.
hit record, and it'll stop it. You gotta
Okay,
hit-
then okay.